Green, green. Holy moly. Great job! Yeah! This guy. Thank you! Wow! Hell yeah. Woo-hoo! Great job, man!
Now we got a crash. Cars spinning left and right.
Buddy, let her rip. Rain like hell, baby! Come on! Oh my god, guys! Yes! Yes! Unbelievable! You guys are the best! Yes, 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 yes! Oh, what a year!
And we're live, and their mics are now unmuted. What you guys don't see is that when me or Danny or Eric or Darian, whichever one of us is hosting each week, whenever we start up the intro, and then we're like, we're about to go, okay, we're about on, we're about to, they start doing random noises and coughs and stuff to throw us off, and it usually works on me. You can see I can't stop smiling.
It used to work on me all the time.
Oh,
because I
you were the
used to hit
easiest.
like the wrong one. Yeah, I'd be like, okay, we're muted, and then I would mute the freaking music instead of us. But Eric, what is going on with your hat tonight, bro? Is it like really like it's like hurting your head? It looks like.
Yeah, this is, I'm pretty sure it's a youth size hat, and I already have a very large head to begin with, so we are squoze in here. But tonight, cause for celebration. We'll talk about it later in the show, but I'm obviously a very happy camper, as you can tell. So we got a lot to talk about, though. It's also throwback themed. It's very, we're killing two birds with one stone. That's what we're doing here.
Yeah.
So I'll run through real quick, just a brief 30-second rundown, let everybody watching at home, all 200 plus of you right now know. So we're starting off, go over Dover. We have an interview with Goodyear exec Greg Stucker, and it's actually really interesting. So you're going to want to stick around for that. And then we got a few things in the lightning round, but the big things we just talked about, Hall of Fame announcement, 2023 class. I think we're going to have some happy people in here about that one. And then
I wish Danny was here. Did you see what he tweeted earlier today?
No, what he's tweeting?
He tweeted Ricky Rudd in the Hall of Fame over Matt Kenseth. He is lucky he has the night off.
Ricky Rudd, he is long overdue though.
I like Ricky Rudd, but he cannot his
but not over Matt Kenseth though.
Do not hold a candle to Kenseth, but no, yeah. We'll get to that later. Sorry, as you can tell, I'm very focused tonight.
All good, and that actually leaves me real quick, letting everybody know, getting a little early business out of the way here. Danny has night off, family stuff, so letting you know there. But no, let's get right to the big stuff at hand at the moment. Not the most recent news, but the biggest stuff from the week, because it was for the most part in the week and not the weekend, and that's the Dover weekend. Starting out with Cup, Darian, I want you to start off. Tell me what you thought of the first 79 laps. We were 10 laps over a nice rain out. But tell me about those first 79 laps this week before we get into what we saw on Monday. Because I thought that kind of set the tone almost.
My first thought was, damn, like if we would have started the race by noon, this race would have been like official by now. That's like, and then I immediately go on Twitter and then okay, everybody's saying the same thing as me. Okay, so I'm
jumping in the meme.
Yeah, so hey, hashtag noon start times. But I mean, now that I don't live on the West Coast, now I see what all the frustration's about, because now I'm like, dang, why does the race got to start so late, or why does it got to start like? So I totally get it now. But anyways, like those first 79 laps, I was very surprised with the product we were seeing and stuff. Like, I mean, the next gens, like, I mean, we've seen them, be a very big hit on like, Auto Club in Vegas. You were like, whoa, that was a way better race than I originally anticipated. For years during the Gen 6 era, like whenever we would just go to Dover, I'd just be like, it'll probably be an all right race, but it's not going to be anything too memorable. Like the only memorable Dover race, I think in the Gen 6 era was like, to me, was like 2016, the summer one, I think. I think that was the one.
Yeah, the spring where Kenseth won.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there you go, Eric. You remember that one. I know for sure. But yeah, so it hasn't really been that consistently entertaining to me since the COT era. But those first 79 laps, I was like, whoa, like we're seeing some good stuff here and stuff too. And then all of a sudden the rain came out and whatever. And then we had to wait. But yeah, I mean, like it was looking very positive at first, but then the weather situation, NASCAR, like they've caught a lot of breaks this year. It seemed like last year they couldn't catch a break with weather, certain races starting on time and stuff like that. But for the most part, they've been pretty lucky this season.
What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, it's rare that they get through an entire spring without one race getting postponed to a Monday. It's just a shame that it happened at Dover, who only has one date a year. And this was such an important race for the future of the track. And I think luckily for fans up in the Northeast, a lot of people showed up on Sunday. I thought the attendance when the initial green flag drop was, I mean, it looked like one of the best Dover crowds we've seen in a few years. And I know you noted this, Jarrett. They have dropped their attendance or their capacity significantly, but I think even considering they had at least 50 or 60,000 fans there, which is a really good crowd for any non-Daytona track in the Cup Series these days. So it sucks for them that it got rained out to Monday and that only maybe like half of them were able to come back, if that. But even then, a solid crowd showed up on Monday. So, I mean, Monday's where the real action took off. What'd you think of Denny Hamlin's? Well, that was the end of stage one, right? Hamlin was the wheel.
So,
bro, Hamlin always has something to happen to him.
Well, so Hamlin, it's like early on. So, you know, I was watching it with my girlfriend. She's a Hamlin fan and all. For anyone who doesn't know,
God rest her soul.
And so I'm sitting next to her. I'm like, babe, look, Denny just took the lead. And she's like, it's too early. Something will happen. I'm like, it's the first good thing other than Richmond all year.
Yeah.
Like, be happy about it. She's like, it can't. It's not going to be fair to him. And I'm just like, wow, she's already in like 09, 2010 Dale Jr. phase.
Yes.
Anyway, but with that, like, I thought it was fitting though, the fact that it's like Hamlin, both days, first stage goes really, really well, and then pit road of all places, it's not Denny that makes it all go to hell, it's his crew. And I think this, we'll talk in a minute about this, but like when it comes to the wheels flying off, but I mean, it's like Denny this year, he's the driver this year that anything that can go wrong will go wrong when his car is good. When his car is bad, he just stays in the back. Like,
like Martinsville.
And by no means do I think that this is like the end of his season. Like we've seen before, I believe Brad Keselowski back in 2011 started off terrible. I mean, that team was running 25th every week. I believe by race 12 or 11, he was like 27th.
And then he had that test crash, got hurt, and then all of a sudden started winning.
No, before that. Before that. He won at Kansas, and like in the span of like 8 weeks, I think, 8 races or something crazy like that. He went from like 24th in points, where Denny, I think, is at the moment, to like 11th. So it's not the end by any means, and that win definitely has saved his team this year, but it's like, good God, man, nothing can go right for him except for Richmond.
And both of his 2311 cars, they're still ahead of him in points, correct?
Technically, but that's not something to be proud of. At this point.
I know, but dang, I'm just saying that's how bad it's gotten. Because they've had problems.
Let's be real here. That would mean that Denny would have to get to 21st in points to be above them.
I just can't believe he only has one top 10 on the year, and we're like 12 races in. One top 10.
This next gen car, man, it just provides more parity. But dang, I didn't think we would see this much of a drop off with some of the usual suspects and for the championship and stuff. But I don't know. I guess like with a format like this, I guess like he shouldn't worry too much. I guess or whatever. Like he's already in the playoffs and stuff too. And again, once you get to the playoffs, it's a whole new ball game and stuff, and that it still gives racing. I feel like they're capable of like turning it around eventually, but it is very surprising because like you said, one top 10 in the first 12 races. That's insanely bad. And
things are only going to get harder for the next few weeks because he'll be without Chris Gabehart unless they win this appeal, apparently.
Yeah, and that's another thing with the suspension. So apparently the guy who didn't, like somebody got suspended who wasn't supposed to be suspended. Like they said that somebody listed as like, because it was the right front that came off, right?
It was the left front, but because of their new choreography, it's the rear tire changer on the right side who comes around and does that left front. But he's listed as the rear tire changer, so they actually penalized the other guy. So the guy who was actually
he didn't even do it.
The wheel, because it was a weird thing. I don't remember exactly what happened, but the wheel nut like fell off. You could argue it was the gun's fault. It wasn't even the crew guy's fault. It was just their fault that they didn't catch it in time. But it wasn't the guy who got suspended is not the guy who had the issue. So
he didn't do it.
I don't know.
I want to clear this up really quick. Is the 4-race suspension just points races?
It includes the All-Star race.
Okay, so Gabehart would be back by June, but I mean, if he's not there for Kansas, I think that's actually something that's going to be really important long term because Kansas now it's in the first round, and let's be real, unless Denny Hamlin rattles off like 6 wins or something, he's going to need to be good at Kansas. Like,
and honestly, he'll need to be good at Texas too, because that's also in the playoffs, and the All-Star race. He might not have his crew chief. So
the thing with Texas, I'm wondering is if they're just going to change the package for the All-Star race like they did before. Or not. Like
I feel like they'd have announced that by now. I don't know.
No way. I mean, like you gotta see how this next gen car performs with
I
this.
I wouldn't have ruled it out, but I just think it's too late in the game. I feel like they'd have announced it by now, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's naive of me to say.
But I guess with this we can talk about it. The fact that this is becoming a pretty normal occurrence of tires either under caution or even under green flying off the cars. And I want to ask you guys, starting with you, Eric, do you think that NASCAR needs to reevaluate, one, what's going on with it? I know there was that tweet thread this past week from, I believe, Eric Jones, tire changer, I want to say it was.
Yeah.
And
I
then
think so, yeah.
about how they go about that. But, like, the penalty itself, I think, is not helping by any means, like, promote safety with this, I guess.
Yeah. Cliff Daniels said a few weeks ago, he basically said that it's kind of backwards. Think about it this way. Like right now you have the best, most well-trained guys going over the wall and making these pit stops. And if one of them makes a mistake and gets suspended for 4 weeks, you're bringing in the B team. You're bringing in backups who theoretically are not as good, are not as trained. So if this is really a safety concern, Cliff Daniels' argument was you're bringing out the worst guys and the better guys and putting in worse guys, which I guess he has a point there. You know, it's interesting because this week we had in the Xfinity race, Sam Mayer's wheel fell off with 5 lug nuts. That's pretty rare. So the difference, though, between the 5 lug nuts is you could argue, I guess, teams to have faster pit stops would only try to tighten 3 nuts, you know, and then run that risk. And that's why the penalty was so stiff. But with this new car and with the single lug nut, I think the argument a lot of teams are making is that there really isn't any competitive advantage to being quicker like that because, you know, if the nut's loose at all, you only have one of them, tire's going to fall off. And that's a competitive disadvantage. Like the only argument I could hear could see is like, well, you need to take an extra second to make sure it's locked in. But part of what I think that thread was about, what we've heard from other crew guys over the course of the year is that it's sometimes misleading. You think it's locked in, you're sure it's locked in, and it's not. And they're still trying to figure out exactly what they're supposed to be feeling, what the guns are doing. And I think even in that thread, he mentioned that they now have guys on some of these teams that their job is to sit on the other side of the pit wall and just watch to see if they notice anything wrong with the tire as the thing's going on and off. And it's still apparently not catching these very often. They're still having at least one race, it feels like, where a wheel falls off. And the big thing is it's now happening to the big teams. Like Joe Gibbs Racing had 2 loose wheels this weekend with Christopher Bell. They caught theirs in time that it didn't fall off on track, but Bell had a loose wheel and Hamlin had a loose wheel. I mean, those are supposed to be the best pit crews in the garage. So I don't know what you change. You obviously can't change the whole wheel assembly. Like it's going to be single locking lug nuts for the entire year at the very least. But I don't know. Maybe you do reevaluate the penalty system and lessen it slightly, but I don't know what the right answer is.
I see. My thought, I saw some people pointing this out as like maybe a more of a deterrent to, you know, I don't know if it's to risking it as much as like just letting teams making teams slow down through pressure and make sure that they tighten them up. What a lot of people have been thinking is either a points penalty or like if your tire comes off on track and it's clear as day that the wheel wasn't tightened up all the way, like automatic DQ, like at that point.
I don't think you need harsher penalties. I feel like I just think you need you need to actually work on the guns themselves or the process stuff. Because that's what I mean. I don't think any team's trying to leave wheel nuts loose. And even if they take all the time in the road and like, I think it's good. It sounds like they still might have a wheel nut fall off at some point, or a wheel fall. I don't know. It just sounds so unpredictable. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know.
You just have to investigate like why they're not like tightening up like automatically and stuff. I mean, like because it's been such a common occurrence this year, and that was one of the scariest parts about this race too. Was like they had a wheel or somebody's wheel came off. I think it was AJ Allmendinger's, and it was rolling down. I think it was either turns 2 or 3, and you see all these all these stock cars, full speed ahead, 5, 6 of them go right past it, and I think Chris Buescher was like the closest to striking it and stuff. And I'm like, damn, like, hey, if he hits that at a certain angle, it could fly, you know where, you know what I mean? So yeah, you never know.
That's why I think that people who are just like, oh, it's just something they got to work through, you know, don't worry about it.
No, you gotta do it now.
Well, because my thought is like, what happens if, you know, the leader has a tire come off in front of the pack at like Talladega or Daytona definitely, because it's more tight. There's no way in hell that thing is not going to get hit. And if that thing flies into the stands at 100 miles an hour, I don't want to know what will happen.
And that happened in 2013 when Larson, like, there a wheel
that was a
tire.
Yeah, and that was a freak accident. That's something that in most respects you can't, make not a quick fix, but you can't have like maybe one or two things to fix that would prevent that from happening. Like, freak accidents will always happen, but wheels flying off, this is not normal compared to what we
that's something. But I mean, that's also something to where it's like, okay, we can figure this one out and stuff. Like a freak accident, that's totally a different thing. But yeah, I mean, like, it's been so consistent this year, and it's really something to be concerned about, of course. Like, how do you fix it? I mean, yeah, you could have like stricter penalties, but then it's like, I don't know. I don't think that would make, I mean, it's not going to make the issue go away. It's not going to make these wheels like, okay, we're going to have, the wheels are definitely going to stay on now because, we're going to, strengthen the penalties and stuff. I don't see that like being a solution though. So I don't know. I think like NASCAR internally just has to look at like, one of the, the aspects of the next gen and be like, okay, so like, why isn't it this, this wheel tightening up and all that stuff? But yeah, I don't know. I don't think they should strengthen the penalties though.
Well then, going, I guess, a little broader, a little further out, going from the wheels to the tires themselves, I guess people were talking about on pit road. You saw a little bit of cording on the tires this past week, and you noticed during the race it pretty much went away as the drivers got a hang of it. What did you guys think of the fact that basically Dover just chewed up all the tires, and drivers had to actually manage their equipment more than they would in years past? Like,
I love it.
Oh,
go ahead. Sorry.
You can go ahead, Darren.
No, go ahead.
I mean, I think it sounds like we're gonna say the exact same thing. Like,
I was just about to say, yeah, I love it. I mean, I love these these tire management races, man. Like, I mean, I feel like like the stages and stuff, like some of that has gone away because we're not having as long of green flag runs and stuff. But it was refreshing to see again. I don't think I've seen every race you have to manage your tires and your equipment and stuff. But it was like it's way more prevalent at certain tracks, compared to others and stuff. Like Talladega, managing tires, doesn't really matter. But Dover, you have to manage your stuff, and we saw it on full display for sure.
But I just loved how things changed throughout the day. Like you mentioned it, Jared. Like in that, I think it was in stage 2, you had a bunch of guys start having tire issues about 60, 65 laps into a run. And I think in stage 3, we had like an 80 lap run, and there really weren't any tire issues. Like some of that maybe was more rubber put onto the track, but some of that I think was teams up and down pit road realized, oh, this is a problem, and they slightly tweaked their setups to accommodate for it, or drivers took note of it and began saving their stuff earlier in the runs. Regardless, anything that puts adds an extra wrinkle of competition, like who can save their tires better, who can't. Anything that adds to a race like this, I think is a good thing.
Well, and something else that I noticed and I liked about it too was the fact that it's like you could basically, for the first time in years, take your car anywhere in the corners at Dover. Like, the low line, we've been talking, low line started. What I really liked seeing was when Kyle Busch started making his way up, how he was diamonding the corner. That's how you used to drive Dover a lot more in years past. And, I made a note about it. If you're one of the fans who wants to bring Rockingham back, you love that race because that is Rockingham. Like, that's how Rockingham was.
So if you don't like Dover, you're not gonna like Rockingham at all.
Yeah. So for anyone who started watching NASCAR in the last 18 to 20 years that's saying bring Rockingham back, you got a little taste of it if you haven't watched a race from there before.
That's basically gonna be Rockingham if it comes back.
But, we talked a bit about the wheels coming off. We talked about, the way the different drivers manage it. Kyle Busch and Alex Bowman, in my opinion, seem to have been, at least before one of those last cautions came out, during a green flag run, seemed to be about the best ones out there. Like, their cars were performing the best. It seemed like they had the least amount of wear on the tires. Like, they had it figured out. They lose a chance basically to win because of having a pit stop at the wrong time. And I want to ask you guys, like, I guess what happens if it doesn't happen, but also at the same time, were you guys kind of surprised they weren't able to make their way back up, even with as few cars on the lead lap as we had?
I wasn't. I mean, like, there's certain parts. There's certain parts of the race at Dover where it's like track position is key, and I felt like in those final laps, like you need to be in a certain spot to have a shot at the win and stuff. And they had to go all the way back to the tail end, so they had to drive through a bunch of other lap cars, and then we had another caution. So then they cycled up to the rest of the lead lap cars, and then by that time, they had pretty much used up their stuff, and then Elliott and Chastain were battling up there for the lead. So the race was long gone after that point. But, at least they were still able to salvage, a somewhat decent day. They both still finished in the top 10 and add in those stage points. Then it rounds up to, a top five in terms of points, I guess. So
they salvaged what they could. I knew it was going to be hard. Once they lost all that track position, I knew unless they got a string of yellows, they were not winning this race, because it was, while you could pass more than I think we'd seen at Dover in recent years, it was still a track position race. And kind of like you just said, Darian, like they were going to use up their stuff. We knew tire wear was a factor. And so it was going to be harder and harder and harder the closer they got to the front. So I think they got to back up to like 5th and 7th, which is pretty solid, all things considered. But what was surprising about that cycle of pit stops is typically the leaders, and they had a pretty big lead. The two of them were pretty far out in front. And I know they were racing each other to try and come out with the lead because they knew track position was key. But the fact that they both were like among the first handful to pit, usually the leaders hang back and are like the 20th to pit or something. But no, they were like the 3rd and 4th guys to pit. And unfortunately for them, the first guy to pit, Allmendinger, had a wheel fall off, and that's what brought the caution out. But that's the risk you take. When you short pit and you put those fresh tires on faster, you run the risk of a caution coming out of sequence and ruining your day. So it's just ironic that these are the two guys that have backed into wins recently that basically had a win snatched out from under them. Yeah, exactly.
That race slapped him in the face, basically.
I don't know which one or the other it was, but when Alex Bowman came to pit road, it looked like he almost spun out, like he last minute made it on. And I either thought, A, he's trying to keep up with Kyle Busch, because I think it's pretty well known Kyle Busch is the best at getting on pit road under green, or B, Kyle Busch pitted and Greg Ives was about to pit, and Greg Ives is like, get on now. Like we can't.
That could have been.
We can't.
Yeah, probably called it last minute.
Well, because if he's a lap off on tires for one lap,
he falls way back.
Yeah, that's a second right there.
Yep.
So I feel like that's like one of those, we're playing cat and mouse with someone is the wrong move because they're both in the trap.
It came back to bite him.
But that opened the door for a lot of other guys. Chastain was up front, Elliott was up front, Truex, all these other guys. But that battle between Chase Elliott and Ross Chastain, just chef's kiss, beautiful. That was great.
That could be a potential Final Four or Championship 4 battle there. I could see those two in the Championship 4 by season's end. Chastain, he's a championship contender, man. I think he's a championship contender already this year. I think, we're just past a quarter of the way into the season and stuff. I think, at this point, him and Byron are the only two to have multiple wins this season. And he's been more consistent than Byron has been, of course. So I think he's the favorite right now. But yeah, that battle between him and Elliott, amazing racing. That was amazing stuff. But then again, it's also not a game of track position. It's also a game of clean air too. Once Elliott was able to get a lot of the clean air towards the end of that race, he was not going to be able to be catched. But Pitbull. That Pitbull scheme was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. I actually liked that one. I was thinking that one actually. I was like, okay, that was a good one.
I don't know. I thought that second to last restart where the two of them are side by side for 4 or 5 laps before the caution, that was good stuff. And you could tell Elliott was the better car. He just wasn't the control car. But even then, the fact that he was able to hang with Chastain, despite Chastain trying to pinch him down on the bottom pretty much every chance he got, that was impressive from Chase Elliott. And then on the final restart, he still wasn't the control car. He just beat Chastain straight up, just got a better jump. Didn't beat him to the line, but got through the gears better, side drafted a little, and took off and hid. Because, once Elliott got to the lead, he drove off and left Chastain to deal with Ricky Stenhouse. At that point, the race was over. It was.
And shout out to Ricky Stenhouse, man. That was crazy. That was nuts. I was like, wow, this 47. Look at him. We hadn't seen him run up front like that since Auto Club, the first stage of Auto Club.
But still, since the first stage of Auto Club, he's been MIA. So
basically,
he was outside the top 30 in points coming into this weekend.
Yeah, they needed that run.
Overall, before we get into the end of the race and after, overall, this race was actually one that I was kind of worried about when it came to the car itself. And I know that the tire had a lot to do with it too. I'm not discrediting that, but I was worried because like we talked about the Gen 6, and I would even say most of the COT era, Dover has been for the most part a dud. There's a reason it has one date now. and it's not it's not because of the people watching at home. It's not because of the crowd, partly because of the crowd. It's big parts of the racing itself. Like, it has not been good racing. I think I had said it was the best Dover race I remember watching since Burton v. Kenseth in 2006. I think that was the Chase race that year.
It's been a while.
That's a long time to go without, as you put, a memorable Dover race.
Well, because everyone talks about 2016, but they only talk about the last 40 laps. We don't talk about the 360 laps where it was boring as all hell and a big crash had to shake everything up to make it good. Like, there didn't have to be a big crash.
I personally like. I mean, like, my favorite. Yeah, I mean, that was one of my favorites in the Gen 6 era, but also 2013. I guess Stewart's final win. I guess that was also another. That was all right. But then Johnson, when he had the Madagascar scheme, it's just moments.
Oh, no, that one in 2013 you're talking about?
2012 when he had the NASCAR.
That was one of the most boring races.
Exactly. So I only remember.
See, 2012 is like Dover. It has great moments, and everyone thinks it's great because of the moments. But when you go back and watch it, it pretty much sucks for 80% of it. But not this. This Dover race was good, in my opinion, from start to finish. So, I can't remember the last time, I can't remember the last time a Dover race has been like that, I was, how old was I in that 2006 race? I would have been 8. I was 8 years old the last time there was a Dover race I enjoyed from start to finish. Maybe that's just me being positive, or maybe it's the fact that it's a lot better. It might not be good.
Miles the Monster wants to know your new location.
Well, he's been sleeping for 15 years. He's
he's piling on.
But also, do you think the reason, I mean, like, it maybe looks a lot better too is because they did scale back to only one race a year as well? Do you think that helps as well?
As far as crowd, I'm sure that helped a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
it was a good race. Yeah. I'm with you, Jared. It was one of the better ones. It was one of the more memorable races. Like, we've said that about, it's bad that I'm honestly looking more forward to all the intermediate races than the short tracks the rest of this year. Like, Fontana was pretty good throughout. Las Vegas, pretty good throughout. Dover, pretty good throughout. I mean, there's a consistent theme here.
I'm not even looking forward to Martinsville now. That's supposed to be like the second to last race now too. I'm like,
it's just these cars. What we were worried about in the offseason, we all knew these cars were going to be harder to drive. We didn't know how much, but they were going to be harder to drive than the most recent package. But we also heard that they were kind of unpredictable, a little twitchy sometimes. I feel like we haven't gotten the twitchiness, but we've gotten the hard to drive so far this year. Like, Kyle Larson just lost in the middle of, I think, 3 and 4 this week, and for the most part kept it out of the wall. Like, he was running in the top 5 and just spun out. That's Kyle Larson. Like, that would not have happened with the Gen 6, more than likely at Dover or really anywhere. So, things like that happen on lap 123 and lap 210 instead of all at the very end of the race leads to, I think, better paced races where we come away saying, hey, that was pretty eventful throughout, like we said about Fontana, Las Vegas, and even Dover. So I think that's where the next gen entire combination really come into play.
Before we get this last bit in here, before we get to the winner, is it bad that I find that the net, like, obviously the playoff stuff, aside, is it bad that I kind of find the All-Star race at Texas more intriguing going in than Martinsville?
That's
scaring
crazy.
me, man, because Martinsville's my favorite track. But I'm kind of like, man, if Texas is good, like, damn, that might be good. Like,
I mean, I'm looking forward to the All-Star race more than the average person, I think. But I still think Martinsville, second to last race of the season, something's going to happen. It may not be a great Martinsville race, but I think something will happen. That's all I mean.
Yeah, and that's what I said. Playoff stuff aside, it's just like, man, I can't believe you're actually. It's actually. I won't say I'm looking forward to Texas, but I'm intrigued, and that's
I'm a lot more intrigued. Yeah, a lot more intrigued.
I can't drive 55.
I'm not intrigued by that. Don't bring that back. Please.
No, aren't they bringing Blake Shelton this year?
They got Blake Shelton, yeah.
Oh, wait, but they're going to have him perform during the pace laps?
No, I don't think so. Well, maybe.
Okay,
I wouldn't put it past them. But
maybe he'll sing Bring Back the Sunshine.
No, instead they have the guy shooting himself out of a cannon during every stage break. Apparently
I saw that. I saw that. They're taking a buck out of freaking Humpy Wheeler. Like, that's what he used to do all the time at Charlotte.
That's what I mean. I'm like, I thought Eddie Gossage retired. This is some Eddie Gossage stuff.
No, excuse me. Humpy Wheeler, he used to, like, he used to do the bus stunts too, or he used
Yeah,
to
Humpy,
organize the bus stunts.
It was he was into big spectacle stuff. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
exactly.
Humpy had the bus, and the one I remember is a giant mechanical Godzilla that he had.
Yeah,
like
that was
burn
that.
stuff. But
I
I'm
guess
pretty sure they
Texas-
brought that to Texas one year because I feel like one of the first times I went to Texas, I saw that, and I remember thinking, what?
I guess I guess Texas Motor Speedway is like, hey, look, just in case, I think we have a good shot of the race being good this year with the next gen, but just in case it sucks, let's have all this other stuff in between so we can amuse the crowd at least.
Well, we kind of held off on this long enough. We talked about him for a minute. Chase Elliott is the winner. He ended his slump, even though he was the points leader. And
it was only his second top 5 of the year.
I will say that was weird.
Still the points leader though. It's crazy.
He's been consistent. Like, I think that shows, to a lot of people, because a lot of people, if you ask who's the top 5 drivers out there, I think a lot of people might leave Chase Elliott off of there, even though that he's
a top 5.
He is. I would say he is a top 5 driver, but the fact that leading the points, having a top 10 in majority of the races, and for the most part being the most consistently good one out there week in and week out, is still a slump for Chase Elliott.
Well, that's partly NASCAR's fault though, because it's just that's the system. Now that the system's playoffs and stuff, like now it's got to take this consistency for granted.
But even without that, I keep track of like consistency and stuff, and even without that, I still felt like he was off. So it's like, I don't think it's that.
I guess it's because he doesn't have he hasn't been competing for as many wins. I guess I don't know. I can't really think off of the top of my head like a bunch of races this year where I said, oh yeah, Chase Elliott could have won that. You know what I mean? Like I really feel like this was like one of his first, one of his rare opportunities so far this year to win a race. But yeah, also too, I guess like to your point, like I guess like another reason people think he's in a slump is because not only didn't he have a win, but he only has 2 top 5s, like Eric said. So
and he hadn't won on an oval in a year and a half, and I think people were genuinely starting to like wonder, like
wait a minute, what's going on? That's
like what's happening there? And I think like you said, Darian, the only other race I can think of he had a real legit shot at winning this year was Fontana.
Auto Club or Fontana.
But no, exactly. Like so, he's been around. Like that's a top 5 that didn't happen. Because he finished like 20th in that race, I think. But kind of like Jared said, like we just don't talk about him that much because he's been running 6th a lot this year, and that's kind of this weird dead zone in the field where like you're not doing bad where we make fun of you, but you're not doing good enough that you're constantly on TV.
You're not doing great. You're doing good.
You're not Cody Ware, but
he's going up until this week. He's been going at it old school. Going to go lock up the regular season championship with very few wins. He's got a win now, and it was pretty convincing. I think he had one of the top 5 best cars. Maybe not quite as good as Kyle Busch or Alex Bowman, but I think in the ballpark. It was the kind of thing if he had to hold them off in the closing laps, he probably would have done it. I think Chase Elliott's in a pretty good spot. You obviously want to see more of this. You want to see more wins, more playoff points. If you win the regular season championship, that's a lot of playoff points, but you also want to snag a few wins as well because that's where you really get those playoff points in bulk. But it's hard to say Elliott's been in a slump. He's only won 3 races in the last 18 months, but he's been to 2 championship 4s.
Yeah,
so it's like I don't know. He's still been good.
It is weird to think though. Didn't they say his last race win was Was it Road America?
We were there. Yeah,
we were there.
We were there last year. Actually, 10 months ago to the day, because it's May 4th and that was July 4th. So it's just, it is odd to think about. So I guess in a sense I can get that, but it's like he hasn't been bad. Like if this is Chase Elliott's basement, if this is the low, he's in a pretty good spot. And
he's a top 5 driver. He's a top 5 driver at the very least. Like you can say he's technically in a slump and all that stuff, but at least give the man his props and stuff. Like I know. Me personally, I like to troll his fan base a lot too from time to time. Easy. But he's good. He's great. He's already a champion too. So this is like if this is considered his slump, then yes, he's a top 5 driver.
They noted this on the broadcast, I believe, as well. But another reason I think we could be overlooking him a bit is because in these last 10 months, since his last win, Byron's won multiple races, Bowman's won multiple races, and Larson sure as heck has won multiple races. So in that respect, it does feel like a slump when all your teammates are putting up 2, 3, 4, 7 wins in the same time frame.
Yeah. But not everybody drives for Hendrick Motorsports. That's just how good they're.
Well, but I'm just saying, if you look at the win column, he's been 4th out of the 4 Hendrick guys. Like that's obviously he's been very consistent. We wouldn't say he's the 4th best Hendrick driver, but he hasn't gotten the wins, and that's why people have been a little like, where's Chase? Is he still racing?
I will say, even though he's higher in points, It sucks this is the week Danny's not on to hear this. Like, I would say right now, consistency-wise, win-wise, running up front, the only thing that he's lacked at is leading laps. But I would say it's like Alex Bowman, then Chase Elliott. Then I'd say Kyle Larson, and William Byron's still way too inconsistent. I believe he only has 4 top 10s in the year. So like,
yeah, I expected more from him yesterday too. Or yeah, in the race. Yeah.
It's like they have all sort of like switched roles a bit in the past few races or so. But either way, they're all in the playoffs. Like I believe they're the first team that everyone is locked into the playoffs at this point.
Yep, all 4 of them have wins, so they're good to go.
If I'm the field, though, I'm thinking, man, if none of them have anything to lose for the next 15 races, 15 races of testing, 15 races of going for broke, 15 races of just basically Hendrick Motorsports having a vacation while they're out there, like, that's not good for them come playoff time, because they're going to accrue playoff points more. They're going to be able to go for more, and they're going to be able to learn a lot more about the cars. I wouldn't be surprised if every week this point out, there's at least one Hendrick car that's running way off the pace, just because
when you think of stuff. Because like of all the big teams currently, I mean, Hendrick Motorsports to me is the best team. They're the best Cup Series team in NASCAR right now. And then I guess you could say like, is Trackhouse second or in that top 5 and stuff? I mean, like, Chastain's carrying them. You know what I mean? So like, I guess my question to you guys is like, who's that second place team right now? I don't like. I can't really gauge on who is truly that second place team, because
I mean, before this week I would have said Penske, but they all
Penske was so off though, and then Hendrick is like there. Well, 3
Gibbs
of the
probably.
4 cars were there. Yeah, but like Gibbs, I mean, they would be in, like, sure they're in second, but it's a very, very, very distant second place because. Yeah, right now, Hendrick Motorsports, they have the field on lock right now. And I mean, like you said, 15 weeks or 15 races worth of testing and stuff. So it's smooth sailing from here.
Well, we talked about these two earlier on, but Chastain and Martin Truex Jr., they race each other really hard. And I will admit, for a while, I was kind of making, I wasn't saying anything on Twitter or whatever, but I was kind of making fun of Truex while I was, like, my brother was there with me. Because Truex every week, he's, I saw like people giving transcripts on the radio like for this week. He's like, he's effing in my way every time, and it's like, dude, there's 15 to go, and you're
it's racing. It's a racing, bro.
Yeah, but Martin Truex Jr. versus Ross Chastain. I had said earlier this week in my video that I didn't think anything would come of this, and I applaud Ross Chastain for handling it so well, not giving the media fodder, but. I'm sorry, I don't take Truex seriously when he's getting all upset about anything. The dude is the definition of all bark, no bite. I mean, he proved that in 2018.
He doesn't even really bark though. He'll talk to you. He didn't yell at Chastain. He didn't like put hands on him. He didn't even really like point at him or like getting like up under his helmet or anything or picking his nose. He didn't do any of that. He just talked to him.
But he's
about
like
fishing apparently.
But I guess he's like what I kept seeing for like the last 50 laps, him yelling about everybody on his radio, and it's like. Truex has kind of been getting known as being the complainer about literally everybody out there.
I feel like I get the sense that like he feels entitlement at certain times while racing, and it's like, dude, it's racing. I mean, like you gotta like get past it. Like if a guy's running like really dirty, I would understand that. I mean, Truex, he's one of the cleanest drivers, obviously, but it seems like he just complains for the sake of complaining when they're just, just straight up racing, like I feel like, yeah, if like somebody's dumping you all the time, then yeah, sure. Say something like, hey, but I feel like if Truex, even if Truex did get dumped in this, well, I mean, Truex, yeah. Would you say he got dumped in this case or no? Like you just,
he got roughed up. I don't
think
he
got roughed up,
dumped,
right?
but he got roughed up. I'd say that.
But like, even after getting roughed up and losing all that track position, like he doesn't do anything afterwards. That's not going to instill fear into a driver. Like the next time they're just going to do it to you again. And I mean, we've seen this happen to Truex.
I think that's part of the problem is Truex holds everyone else to a very high standard because he himself doesn't make a lot of mistakes, doesn't rough people up. He is one of the cleanest drivers in the field. And I think he expects everyone to race him with the exact same level of consideration. But He is a dying breed in NASCAR, as we've noted on this show many, many times. The rest of the field, notably Ross Chastain, is the opposite. Their driving style is the polar opposite of Martin Truex Jr. And it became clear back in, 2018, the Logano bump and run at Martinsville. That was the moment it was clear. Truex's kind of driver, not going to be around for much longer.
Yeah.
Because you're right, Chastain's not afraid of Truex after that. Like, he's not going to go out there and try to rough Truex up, but he'll race him hard every lap. Doesn't matter what kind of history they have. He's not afraid of Martin Truex Jr. because Truex has never shown, like you said, Jarrett, that he's going to bite back in any major way. So I don't know. I just think Truex, unfortunately, I respect how clean he is. He is the kind of driver I would have rooted for when I was growing up, when I was a fan. But that's not how you have success in the Cup Series these days. At least that doesn't seem to be the prevailing theory.
He's a Mark Martin in a Ross Chastain's world. Like,
Like Mark Martin in this era, I don't think would have fared too well. And I think like Truex is kind of he's kind of living proof at this point. I mean, because that was the wholehearted comparison I was thinking of. I was like, oh yeah, this Martin Truex Jr. is definitely this year. I mean, he's definitely this generation's Mark Martin in terms of just on track, just behavior and stuff. But yeah, he just always gets taken advantage of too. And
he's gonna snap. He's gonna have his Kenseth moment.
Oh, I can't wait.
If he has a Kenseth moment, then I think his legacy is like a little bit different too. Then people will be like, okay, he was used up. He was used up, but then there's that one moment where he lost it.
Ask any relatively new fan of the last 10 years of NASCAR, what's the first thing you think of when you think Matt Kenseth? Wrecking Joey Logano. That's the first thing they're going to bring up if they're not Eric is a Kenseth fan.
See, that's crazy to look back at now, because I remember when all that stuff first went down. I remember just being in my class and stuff, reacting to Kenseth got suspended and all that stuff. That's crazy that younger fans know him as that guy now too.
I see in the chat, Slap says in 2009 at Bristol, Mark was faster than Kyle Busch and was on his bumper but would not move him out of the way. I've never been more mad at Mark.
Accurate. That's Truex today for sure.
Yeah. Well, kind of moving on really quick to get into more of the big picture rather than just this one race. We've noted there's 15 races to go. There's plenty of time. But I will say that, while some of the stuff towards the center of the cut line is getting closer together, the ends are getting further apart at this point. So right now, in 12th, Joey Logano is plus 57. In 13th, Christopher Bell has quietly jumped up to 25 points above the cut line. Eric Almirola plus 24 in 14th. 15th, second lowest in at the moment is Kevin Harvick plus 21. Eric Jones is the last one in. He's the man on the hot seat plus 3. Austin Dillon minus 3. His teammate Tyler Reddick 18th minus 13. Daniel Suarez is now 19th minus 21. Chris Buescher minus 32. 21st is Kurt Busch minus 38. Bubba 22nd minus 48. And Justin Haley 23rd minus 53. Those are all the guys currently within one race of the cut line. And right away, it is amazing to me after how well he's ran that Tyler Reddick isn't even the highest one outside of the playoffs at the moment.
Oh, Tyler! I mean, he had all that
weekend.
He had all that bad luck, and he wrecked again this weekend. So I said it last week. I was like, okay, Tyler Reddick just needs a little lady luck on his side, and then I don't think he'll be fine. But it hasn't came to him yet. Hopefully, it'll come to him this weekend at Darlington. But Eric Jones being plus 3, just imagine if he didn't have those wrecks at Phoenix and Las Vegas earlier in the year, how much further he would be in the points. I mean, 3 points. I mean, that's still pretty good. I mean, considering. I don't think any of us had Eric Jones in Eric, did you have him in at least?
Oh, no, I figured he'd be 20th. The 43 car hasn't finished better than 21st in points since, I don't know, I guess since Almirola got that win. I don't know.
They're consistently pointing their way into the playoffs. It's not just some fluke rain-shortened win that Almirola had, in 2014, just happened to be at the right place at the right time. They're putting together solid runs. I love it.
11 races in, and he's still, above. Yeah. He's above both the RCR guys, which I believe aren't they affiliates. So he's outperforming others in his equipment. He's above, Daniel Suarez at Trackhouse. He's above both the 2311 cars, which this rate is probably standard.
And also, how do you think Daniel Suarez must be feeling? Do you think it's starting to get to him? Hey, my teammate's winning multiple races. He's competing for wins.
He should be used to that feeling, unfortunately.
Oh, good. Oh yeah, true. That's right.
I love Daniel. Sorry, that was too easy.
Right.
He's got to feel kind of bad, but he had some good runs. He's had some good runs. He's not quite the driver Chastain is. I think we kind of all would have guessed that, but yeah,
I basically forgot. I forgot from it. I was like, oh yeah, that's basically Daniel
Joe Gibbs Racing, Stuart Haas.
Yeah,
he was young. He was young and inexperienced at the time.
He still headed both the 2311 guys.
Yes,
as Chris Buescher.
Yeah, 2311. They are definitely. Would you guys say this is a disappointing team in NASCAR this year based on a hype?
I wasn't expecting them to really set the world on. I mean, I've said it a couple times. I didn't think Kurt Busch would make the playoffs, and the only reason I picked Bubba to make it was a super speedway win.
How does Kurt Busch feel? It sounds like he had an offer from Trackhouse, and he chose 23.
Yeah, that's another. Oh, that's right. He turned him down. Oh,
maybe they didn't pay him as much as he wanted, but he said he'd gotten a call from Trackhouse, and it sounds like Chastain ended up being their second choice. And I still think 2311 can turn things around. I don't think it's hopeless, but yeah, this is not the start I thought. I thought Bubba's 22nd in points. Okay, that's about what I expected. Yeah. I thought Kurt would be top 16. I thought he'd be consistent enough. He's a veteran, but yeah.
I don't expect him to set the world on fire, but I mean, after with 15 races to go left, with 15 races to go in the regular season, I expected them to at least point their way in somewhat. I mean, they're minus 38, minus 48. That's not entirely they're not out of contention entirely, but still, I feel like I don't know. I felt like that number should be way, 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 way lower than it is right now.
I mean, at the moment, Kurt Busch is about 2/3 of a race out, and Bubba is nearly a full race out at the moment. I think of the guys out right now, though, even with all the bad luck, Tyler Reddick's still minus 13, so I'm still pretty bullish on him getting up there. If I had to pick between him and Jones, I'm picking Reddick. But I don't know. Even though he did run in the top 10 a lot this week, I am starting to kind of worry a bit about Kevin Harvick, just because it's even when he runs well, slowly but surely he gets closer and closer to that line.
Because someone else behind him is doing way better in a certain rate, and it's like a different driver every other week.
I look at all the people behind Harvick who could easily win a race. Reddick could easily win a race. Kurt Busch, Bubba Wallace could easily win a race. Eric Jones and Austin, really everyone behind him, even Suarez, who's got a team. They could all win races.
Also, I wouldn't sleep on, don't sleep on Chris Buescher either. I mean, he's right there in P20, minus 32 out. I could see him pointing his way in too. He's a guy I could see doing that.
Buescher was a top 10 car, both Darlington races last year.
He won the pole at Dover just a few days ago.
He won the pole. Yeah, he won the pole. So, I mean, the speed is there. It's just the consistency. They gotta just.
The paint scheme he's running this week is worth an extra 10 horsepower. I'm pretty sure.
Not an extra 17.
Oh, damn it! Yeah, low hanging fruit. Missed that one.
Hey, what would your reaction be if he wins in that scheme, though? What would
I might cry. I don't know. I don't know if I'd cry. But
the week he gets in the Hall of Fame and stuff that's.
I'm just excited to see this classic Robbie Reiser, Matt Kenseth font on track again. That's so exciting.
It's cool.
Well, kind of moving on from what we had this week with points, I want to kind of move over to the ratings. Obviously, with it being a rain out, we're not going to set the world on fire. Just under 1 million viewers for a Monday noon race. So, hey, we started at noon.
We started at noon this time, yeah.
Proof noon doesn't work.
But 944,000, which is not good, obviously, but with it being a rain out. But the interesting thing is the comparable number. In 2019, there also was a rain out at Dover. There also was a Monday race at Dover at noon on FS1. Everything the same. The 2019 rain out had 798,000 viewers, which means this race is 19% higher under the exact same conditions as a race run 3 years ago.
It's not bad. I mean, if there's a silver lining, there it is. Yeah.
It's not
rain
bad.
out races suck, but at least you did better than your last rain out.
And I think those ratings were similar with IndyCar's ratings over the weekend too.
Higher.
Barber. Yeah, or high. Oh, yeah.
Actually, I believe they said Xfinity was also higher.
Oh, damn!
Did Xfinity get more views in the Cup race this week?
No, I think it had I think it had 800,000.
Come on, Xfinity.
Come on.
Yeah, but Yeah, I mean, again, silver linings, it's not a good thing, but I do like the fact that NASCAR's floor is at least a little higher than it was 3 years ago. That's, it shows at least something good to look at, something to keep an eye on over time. But something else, I will say, something else that I didn't expect to be as high when it came to ratings was what we're going to look at next. What would that be, Darian?
The poll, the famous Iceberg poll. What happened in the poll this week? Do we have a new poll record or no?
Dude,
I haven't asked that in a while.
We had 48 hours. Like usually we have 72 to 96.
Yeah, I know. I haven't asked that in a while though, so I figured I'd bring that back for just one time. But what was the ratings for the poll like?
No poll records this week, but we had 13,500 votes, which is actually in the same range that we normally have, even with one less day. 19% of you said this was a great race. 55% said good, 19 average, and then 4 apiece for below average and bad, meaning 74% net positive, 8% net negative. I don't have the numbers up right now, but I know for a fact that is the highest net positive we've had for a Dover race ever. Looking at the comments right here, I got them. The top one was from Wicked Aquarius with the Kyle Busch profile pic, who says, this race is good. However, NASCAR needs to start doing earlier start times like 12 p.m. to avoid rain delays and so on. I would say, memes aside, all joking aside, if there is anywhere to do a noon or 1 p.m. start Eastern time, it's tracks like Dover and Talladega that don't have lights.
I know you can't do it everywhere, but yeah, those ones would be good.
Davis Owen says, Dover reached a new level with both Xfinity and Cup. 3-wide racing, less dirty air factored for the Cup race, multiple grooves, strategy, and tire fall off. Comers and goers, 8 out of 10 for me. Best Dover race in a hot minute.
Agree. Said it well.
Scroll down. So glad Elliott won. Now Reddick needs to win too. Even though I'm not a fan of both of them, I would love to see them win because they deserve it. That's nice.
That's nice.
Very sweet, I guess.
Yeah, we don't get those type of sweetness on in the comments section.
Nice couple of boys. Love to see them be rewarded.
Now find a mean one. Find a mean one.
I gotta scroll a little bit. It was a good race, so there's not gonna be too many mean ones.
Oh no.
Just take your time.
I'll be real.
It's the internet. There's got to be some negativity out there.
There will be. Don't get me wrong. Well, I mean, this one's not negative, but we're getting less positive here. 414 fan says, I think for a Dover race, this was really good. Definitely could be better, but not bad at all. Okay.
That's not.
We're getting in the middle. We're getting in the middle. Scrolling down a little more. I mean, Chase Williams says best Dover race since 2016.
I want mean.
I'm looking. I'm sorry.
Danny in our live chat, not Danny B, but another Danny says Reddick. Oh no, never mind. He says he does deserve one. I misread. I thought he said doesn't deserve a win.
Well, this one is negative for Denny Hamlin. No one. Nope. Denny Hamlin to AJ Allmendinger. You picked a fine time to leave me loose wheel. I wonder if anyone actually knows what that's a reference to.
No, I don't think a whole lot of people know that reference anymore. That's crazy.
Philip Richards talking about MIKEYMOUSE, Mickey Mouse win. It's actually the entire theme for the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
This was not a Mickey Mouse win. This was a straight up win.
I don't know. Loose wheel took Kyle Busch out of contention. Sorry, I'm just stoking the flames.
Okay. We found the negative ones. All right.
Yes.
A lot of them are one sentence ones. I won't go through the cuss words ones too much. Thomas. Okay, this one's not negative, but I'm just gonna read it because it's funny. Thomas Franco, Ryan Preece. That's all he put. Which good job to Ryan Preece for running a fully Rick Ware prepared car.
Dude, did y'all see Tommy Joe Martin? He was mad because I jinxed him or something. Like, I don't know. He was mad at me on Twitter for jinxing him. That's crazy. I don't do anything. It's just all a freaking coincidence, guys.
Pickle Dill Boys was at school, he says. Not going to read the name of that other one, but says Dover is a lame track. I'm going to write it down so that I can tell you guys after. Or when
okay.
What did this guy say?
No, it's not what he said. What he said was Dover is a lame track. I don't want to read his name.
Yeah.
All right. His name, okay.
It reminds me of a Richard Pryor skit. Barry Boy Blast says, didn't see it, I was at school. Adam says Mickey Elliott. Tristan says I didn't see it. Kyle Larson fan gives it an L. Ghost Kill gives it Mickey Mouse win. Lewis Lynn says it's boring, not a lot of passing. And the final comment, the lowest voted comment, is from Eric Seskis, who says, it was okay. Horrible winner, though. And he spelled winner wrong. he
What is spelled with 3 N's?
No, Winner. All right, first thing. Before we get out of this, first comment from CJ. That's it. That's all I'm going to give you. It's from CJ. Positive or negative?
Positive.
It's a Mickey Mouse comment.
All right. Clearly, Hamlin had nothing for Cody Ware. Jokes aside, way to go, Hendrick, for getting all 4 cars in the playoffs.
Notice we went almost an hour into the show without making a Cody Ware joke, even though, yeah, he wrecked and cost a contender a chance at the win.
Hey, that's crazy. I mean, look, Ryan Preece, I know that car was totally prepared by Rick Ware Racing. So the fact that he was running that car inside the top 20 makes the whole Cody Ware incident look way worse by comparison now.
But yeah, thank you all for voting on the poll, and we'll get right into this next part really quick. I don't think we have too awful much to talk about, but there's kind of 3 main points of the Xfinity race I wanted to look at real quick. The first one, Brandon Jones and Sam Mayer actually were the guys who were out front for a good part of the start of that race, and Sam Mayer actually looked, he's starting to look better and better each week. Yeah. So I'm kind of asking you guys, luck be forgiving to him. Is Sam Mayer somebody who we might be able to see do a Noah Gragson towards the end of the year last year, where he sort of turns it on and can actually get some wins?
I think so. I've been high on him for a while, even in his low moments from last year too. But then he would always show glimpses of of great potential, and I'm like, okay, he just needs some lady luck on the side. He just needs more and more luck. And last weekend at Dover, it was just more and more proof because while leading and stuff, then has the pit road mishap and all that. Look, I feel like, when we talk about a Noah Gragson run, I could see him getting multiple wins towards the end of the season, but maybe in the 2 to 3 win range, not a whole lot like a Ty Gibbs has right now, but I could see him running more and more consistent towards the end of the season. Yes, definitely.
I just know JRM seems to be, they've been running so well. They had all their cars up in and around the top 5. So if that trend continues, and yes, Sam Mayer, who we saw the potential in ARCA when he and Ty Gibbs were battling neck and neck with both sides coming out on top pretty evenly. Now, if Sam Mayer's got good cars and he can avoid some of those rookie mistakes he made last year and avoid some of the bad luck that continues to hit every now and then I don't see why Sam Mayer couldn't be a late season contender. I think it'll be fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. And then somebody who I would say for the most part this year has been a bit off is Justin Allgaier, but he showed up. We talked about JRM showing up this week. Mm-hmm. Him and Josh Berry for I want to say it was 10 laps or so, side by side, similar to what we saw with Chastain and Elliott, but also pulling slide jobs, crossover moves. That for me, I thought before the Cup race, before we saw Chastain and Elliott go side by side like they did, I thought that was going to be the moment of the weekend right there. Mm-hmm. So I got to say, I don't know if I'd say the Xfinity race was better than the Cup race this week.
It was close. Though.
But it was
pretty damn close.
Xfinity almost never disappoints anymore. But in the end, Josh Berry gets the win. I don't know how much we can really read into it, just because Dover, is once a year, is so unique compared to any other track the rest of the season.
Is this his 3rd career win now?
Yes. Yeah.
I think so.
It's his first this year, I believe. Mm-hmm. So
yeah. I can double check real quick. I have the list right here. So, that's a different list. I have a lot of lists.
I'm pretty sure it's his 3rd. He had Martinsville, Las Vegas, and now here. It's just cool to see, we talk all about these teenagers, the Ty Gibbses and the Sam Mayers. It's nice to see a guy who's how old, 30, 31, something like that. Mm-hmm. A little more seasoned. I don't like using that phrase.
Seasoned. A little older.
No, just someone who's been around, who's already won a lot of hard to win events. Come into NASCAR and do well. It's good to see him win. He's won at a variety of tracks now in his 3 wins. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and he's I remember when he was starting out last year. Oh, he's just a short track guy. No, he's pretty versatile. He can win anywhere. It seems like.
Yeah, he seems to be it's like between, I'd say, Gregson, Ty Gibbs, and AJ Allmendinger. He's like one of the like those four best guys. I'd say like those four are definitely above the rest right now. And if you're gonna win anything this year, let alone a championship, Josh Berry has to be one of those guys you look at. So
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'd say that pretty much covers it for Dover this weekend. Guys, I think we've held out on them long enough. It's been almost an hour into this thing. Why don't we show the guys the interview? The interview we had this past week.
Yes, sir.
Perfect timing in advance of the Throwback weekend, the Goodyear 400.
Yes. Yeah. So Eric, just explain to the audience really quick who we're interviewing and why.
Yeah, you'll hear it briefly in a second, but yeah, we got the chance yesterday to talk to Greg Stucker. He's the director of racing over at Goodyear. So he is the kind of guy that everyone's coming to, final decisions are going through when coming up with all sorts of racing related questions, tire compounds. He was very involved in the next gen development. So pretty interesting dude. We got to talk to him for 15, 20 minutes or so, answered some pretty good questions, talks a little bit about the Throwback weekend this weekend as well. So if you're interested in the kind of behind the scenes workings of Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, I hope you'll find this fairly interesting. So yeah.
Well, I'm going to throw it forward to all of us, and I believe I'm handing it over to past Eric right now. So
I'll go change real quick.
All right, yeah, go do that. I'll throw it over to you in the past. But everyone enjoy.
How's it going, y'all? We are now joined by a very special guest. We are joined by Greg Stucker, Goodyear Director of Racing. Greg, how's it going? Thank you so much for being on the show. This is really cool.
Going fantastic. Glad to be on board. Appreciate the opportunity.
It's a special week because the Throwback weekend, of course, is at Darlington here in just a few days. And Goodyear's been associated with NASCAR for 68 years. I'm sure that requires constant collaboration, testing, innovation. So how important is that relationship with NASCAR to Goodyear?
It's huge. I think if, think about 6 decades, right, that we've been involved. I mean, that's a long time. I think it's safe to say it's part of our culture. Racing in general is part of the Goodyear culture and has been for a long time. Whether it's our history in Indy cars or Formula One, and obviously currently, NASCAR being our biggest part of that racing heritage. But it's part of what we do. It's important to Goodyear from all the way to senior management, all the way to the people on the factory floor, and it's just it's a natural way for us to demonstrate our technology and the power of the Goodyear brand. I think you got to look at us a little bit differently, maybe from a lot of people that are involved in motorsports. We're not just a sponsor. We're a supplier, and we're the longest continuous supplier in NASCAR, and like you said, we've been doing it for 68 years, and that's a pretty significant achievement in itself. It's something that we're very proud of because our product is a part of the race every week. We're not just there just to put our name on the side of the car. We're part of the action. We're part of the results, and we take that very seriously because what we do does have an impact on what happens week in and week out, and that's true from, like I said, from our senior management to me as kind of the leading the racing division, to all the engineers that do the design and development work, again to the people that put the tires together week in and week out. Right here in Akron, Ohio, in our Innovation Center manufacturing center. I mean, they take a lot of pride in what they do. So it's a culture that it's connected throughout the organization. It's something we're very proud that we've done for this many years, and look forward to continue to do.
Now, sir, everyone loves seeing the throwback paint schemes, of course. For every year, NASCAR does the throwback weekend, but this weekend, Goodyear has a little bit of a throwback of their own. What can you tell us about the special design on the Goodyear Eagles this weekend?
So every year of the throwback, we've been involved, and we've changed change the look of the tires for the weekend. I think probably a lot of fans, they think about Goodyear and they see Goodyear tires week in and week out during NASCAR races, and they may think that are always been that iconic yellow letter Goodyear and Eagle, but that's not the case. Prior to 1980, all the Goodyear racing tires were actually called Blue Streaks, and actually last year at Darlington we threw back to that Blue Streak look. In 1980, as I mentioned, we started the changeover and renaming all of our race tires from Blue Streaks to Eagles. And that was to align with a line of high performance tires that had been developed and was hitting the marketplace at that time. And obviously Goodyear high performance Eagles are still out there in the market all the way up through the ultra high performance line. So we made that connection. And when we made that change in 1980, all through the 80s and into the early 90s, the look that people will see this weekend at Darlington, white letters, iconic block lettering, stencil look, is the way that the tires look throughout the 80s. Now, back then, the Goodyear and Eagle was actually spray painted onto the sidewall of the tires. We have the same look, but the tires that people will see this weekend are actually white decals that we put on the sidewall of the tires. So we just felt like, with the time frame that the Throwback weekend was associated with this year, what better way to do that than to represent what our tires looked like back in that same time period.
Got it. So let's talk about the next gen for a moment. One of the most notable features of this car happens to be the 18-inch wheels. I wanted to know how involved was Goodyear in those ideas, and what was the whole thought process behind those decisions?
Well, we were involved right from the start, and I think, I think that's one of the significant things about the next gen project. I mean, it was a NASCAR industry initiative. Everyone was involved, from the OEMs to the teams to NASCAR to us at Goodyear. And one of the key focuses for everyone, it was something that everybody agreed on, was to make the vehicle more relevant to what people are driving on the streets today, right? Make it more relevant to all the OE manufacturers. Make a Mustang look more like a Mustang, a Camry more like a Camry, a Camaro more like a Camry that people drive on the streets. So that we welcome the opportunity to move to a larger B diameter, go to an aluminum wheel, much more similar to what you see on the tires or the cars that people buy today. Just to say, okay, we want to go to 18-inch, that's a lot easier said than done. It was a real challenge to develop a package around that shorter sidewall design that, of course, is a natural with a lower profile, larger B diameter. So it took a tremendous amount of effort. Again, I mentioned the industry effort. A lot of testing going on, both on the track, in the lab, a lot of shared information to develop a tire that can withstand, the types of loads and speeds and environment that we race in NASCAR. Goodyear's been making 18-inch race tires for years and years, as have other manufacturers, right? But, I'm proud to say we're the first tire company that's developed an 18-inch tire to operate in the harsh conditions, let's call it, of a 3,400 plus pound race tire in oval conditions, the sustained speeds and loads that we see on all the tracks that that we race at with the Cup Series. So it was a huge undertaking. A lot of effort went into getting there, and so far over the course of 2022, I'd say we haven't been, we couldn't be any happier than where we have been with tire performance. And I think as the industry, I think everybody should be very proud of what we accomplished, because I think the on-track racing with the next gen car has been tremendous. I think it's really brought different teams into the fray, different drivers into the fray, kind of leveled the playing field as everyone's embarked on kind of a new project. So I think it's been I think so far it's been a home run, and we're happy to be part of it.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about the dirt tire that we saw over at Bristol Motor Speedway when I was there. So I want to know a little bit more. How does Goodyear prepare for such a unique one-off Cup Series event like that one?
Well, obviously we fall back on a lot of our history, right? I mean, we again, there's a lot of dirt racing in our past. Currently, the only dirt racing we do is on the NASCAR side. But with the move to next gen, with the move to the next gen vehicle, obviously we had to do something different than what we did last year, what we've been doing with the trucks when they raced Eldora, Knoxville, so on and so forth. So we needed to move to an 18-inch diameter package. We felt like the time was right to explore something a little bit different, and that being moving from a bias ply tire. Historically, what people relate to dirt racing, right, and move to a radial package. So we relied on our dirt racing history to develop a tread pattern that we felt like would match the vehicle well, would match what the conditions that we thought we'd see at Bristol, and then incorporate some of the design features of a bias tire, some of the design features of a radial, to kind of make a hybrid, make something that's more compliant, so that it envelops all the irregularities of a dirt surface, because that's one of the important features of a dirt tire. And we feel like we really came up with a good package. It performed well. I think my hat's off to the guys at SMI and Bristol, monitoring and altering the track prep versus what it was last year. Of course, we raced at night instead of daytime, which helps keep moisture in the racetrack. Of course, all those features we knew about going into the event. So I think it all came together very, very well. I think the tire performed flawlessly, to be quite honest with you, and I think everybody was very happy with it. So, in a nutshell, it's relying on our history with dirt racing, our knowledge of current radial tire technology, and kind of understanding the vehicle and what the features would be of the racetrack, to kind of pull all that together to come up with a package for that dirt tire.
So this past weekend, NASCAR was at Dover, and a lot of fans really liked the racing that we saw. And I saw Dale Jr. say that this was because of the tire that was brought. So I want to ask, when it comes to designing different tires for different tracks, what are the main factors that Goodyear looks at? Is it the track age, the usual temperature, both on the track and ambient temperature, past wear at the track, or is it just something completely different that fans like us wouldn't even think of?
All of the above, right? The focus is to make sure you got the right tire on the right vehicle at the right racetrack. So where we start, with the racetrack is try to understand the overall track configuration. What's the length of the track? What are the turn radii? What are the turn bankings, right? All that leads to, okay, what kind of loads is the tire going to see, right? Whether it's vertical, whether it's lateral. What is the surface like? This weekend at Dover, we were racing on concrete, right? We were just talking about Bristol. We just raced on dirt, right? Go to Darlington, we're going to have a completely different asphalt surface, right? So you have to understand all those different components, that affect the tire, and again, make sure we have all those components considered as we develop the package and fine tune it, and make sure we got the right package for the right application. In this day and age, we rely a lot on simulation, as do the teams, right? I mean, every weekend we basically do a performance matrix of our tire setup. We feed that to the OEMs, we feed that to the teams. That feeds into their simulation work, so they can be prepared for a race weekend. We rely a lot on that same simulation work to make sure that, we've identified all those characteristics, all those parameters for a particular racetrack, through simulation, and make sure we understand what the loadings are, both vertical and lateral. Because really where that leads us then is what kind of pressure recommendations, for instance, do we give to the teams? So we want to make sure that, they're dialed in from a performance perspective, but we also want to make sure that they don't overstep the bounds of where the tire likes to operate. And a lot of times air pressure is one of those things that teams will really use. They're trying to tune the balance of the race car, to try to maximize grip. And those are all good things, but we want to make sure that they don't overstep the bounds of what the tire can take. So we do a lot of that performance testing, a lot of different pressure sweeps to understand how the tire behaves at all those different inflations, and then give that to the team so they can make good choices, good decisions on how they apply the tire week in and week out. Because we can do our homework and we can make sure we've got a good, robust package. But then when we turn it over to them on a week in and week out basis, it's up to them to make sure it's applied appropriately, and we want to make sure we're giving them as much info as possible to do that correctly.
Well, we really appreciate your time, Greg. Before we let you go, I want to ask, we talked about slick tires, we talked about dirt tires, but I got to ask you about rain tires. They've been very successful at road courses this year, but we've heard that they've tested them at other tracks, but do you think we'll see rain tires used outside of road courses anytime in the near future?
I think it's possible. Obviously, we've had a lot of discussion with NASCAR. We've gone and tested twice. We've run in Martinsville. We've run at Richmond. Actually, wet the racetrack down. I think it's very doable if you look at it as a single car, on a fairly damp oval track in more the short track realm, a mile and under. The difficulty comes in when you start adding more cars, right? And as close as NASCAR Cup cars run in proximity to one another, in an oval application, and as much spray as a racing rain tire can generate, then the visibility becomes an issue. So I think under the right conditions, whether or not you can run a full race that way, or whether it's just, okay, let's get a race started. Let's help get the racetrack dry till we get to the point where the rain's moved on. We switch back over to slicks, and then we go from there. But it's something we're continuing to talk with NASCAR about. We've got some additional testing plan, upcoming within the next couple of months to look at that. So I'm not going to say it's not going to happen. I'm not going to say it is going to happen, but I certainly think it's something that everybody has on the radar. I think it's desirable from obviously not having to send the fans home, because of a rain out, and maybe you can just get a race started earlier than what we normally would. So there's a lot of good things that can happen from it, but I think the one common thing is we all want to make sure we do it in the right way. We all want to make sure we do it safely, right? And we want to add to the value of the show and not decrease in the value of the show. So a lot of different things to consider, but it's still a work in progress.
Absolutely. Always innovating, always experimenting. Well, Greg Stucker, we really appreciate you taking the time to join us this evening. Appreciate it. We'll be looking out for those cool throwback tires at Darlington this weekend. So appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
And we're back. Okay, my mic's on. Okay, I realized I accidentally put their mic on before mine. So good thing they didn't try and mess me up or everyone would have heard it. But anyway, that was our interview with Greg Stucker from Goodyear. That was, I personally was really invested because of how everyone talked about the tires this past week. So I would say, though, at this point, we should probably be give a little back to these wonderful viewers in the chat right now. and get to Super Chats. Do we have the stopwatch ready?
Yes, I do.
Yep.
All right. So I'll let you know. I had to write down 12 Super Chats before the show. And
Wow. Is that a record?
Wow. That's
it
crazy.
Might be. It might be, but I'll try and get them. It's like a conversation, man. It's like they're conversing with Super Chats. But anyway, let's get to it. Let me know.
I got a DM from IDK player. I hope they didn't see that pop up on my screen.
Just let.
All right, and go.
Oh, okay. First one's from the Cookie Monster for $1.99. Says, me hate Kevin Harvick. Me want more cookies. We're Darcidius. Avatar Cora for $5. Thank you very much. Says, the Avatar thanks Jar Jar for making this podcast great. The Avatar issues a statement of appreciation. I can't read my handwriting, but you get the gist. I'm sorry that I don't have the full thing. Coleslaw Custard for $2.79 Canadian says, what was the last race you missed out on? Me was the second Phoenix race of 2019. I haven't missed a race since I started watching in 2005. So I guess the 2004 400.
You haven't missed a single cup race?
Nope.
Wow.
How have we not talked about this? What the fuck?
That's a crazy streak. Damn.
Wait, did you just have a cuss word there, Eric?
No, I thought I should have. I would have been understood. All right, go on.
Anyway.
I'm processing that.
Okay. Lord Voldemort for $1.99 says the Dark Lord agrees with the Avatar about Jar Jar. Boo Harvick. Darth Vader says for $1.99 Emperor Jar Jar or Empire issues Jar Jar a happy appreciation month. Boo Kevin Harvick. Sir Topham Hat says for $1.99 Boo Harvick. Happy Jar Jar appreciation month. Apparently that's the thing now. Jar Jar says for $4.99 Misa appreciate Thesa support, but Wisa need a Danny appreciation month. Misa thinks he's a great guy. Misa thinks Misa appreciate last comment. Gordon the Big Engine for $5 says, I don't know what's worse, the fact that I missed the Dover race because of my express duties, or the fact that people are celebrating Jar Jar appreciation month. Jar Jar said for $1.99 Misa mad, Misa missed the race, Misa at work. He was in the Senate. Avatar Cora for $1.99 says the Avatar had to work as well. Spencer Smith, thank you for the $5, says this goes out to the guy who chugged a small bottle of Fireball on the front stretch before the race. Absolute legend.
Whoa.
Sokatano says Misa believing this was a note to self, stop Starship pooling with to Earth with Jar Jar. Happy to see the 9 back in victory lanes. Spencer,
We have fan fiction in our chat.
we do. It's crazy, man. Oh wow! Someone said so. Iceberg has watched the last 587 races. Yes. Unless you're not including non-points races, I've watched all those too.
Jeez.
Spencer 5478. Thank you for being an 11-month Iceberg member. Says it's throwback time. Let's get it.
Throwback time.
Isaac, thank you for the $4.99. Says happy May the 4th be with you all. What's y'all's favorite Star Wars movie and show? Mine are The Empire Strikes Back and The Clone Wars and Last Jedi. Empire is my favorite and Clone Wars as well, so I agree with you on that one.
It was the last one you showed me before I left.
Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
And I gotta get you on Clone Wars more.
I'll say Empire Strikes Back, but I also liked Rogue One as far as the new Star Wars go.
That's my favorite of the new ones too. Groovy Gosling, I like that. Instead of Groovy Goose, Groovy Gosling for $1.99 says, what are some must-haves for the Kenseth exhibit? Eric, I think you can give us one or two of these.
Well, we just hit 3 minutes, so this is a good one to end on. Must-haves. They used to have this at his museum in Wisconsin. I don't know where it is now, but they need to bring it out of storage. The actual mannequin they used in that famous robot commercial in like 2004, they need that in his Hall of Fame case for sure.
They also need the car that took out Logano in 2015.
Where do you think that car is?
I don't know. I just thought about that.
Dude, that is like, yeah, we need to find out. Someone needs to do like an in-depth docu-series on tracking that chassis down.
It might be in Junior's little graveyard.
I feel like we know about it. Maybe it was repaired and now it's like an ARCA team runs it. I don't know. Who knows?
I mean, all that happened is they had a flat tire, so.
Facts, very true.
Well as being funded by viewers like you, we also want to thank one of our sponsors for today, Lionel. Thank you, Lionel, for sponsoring the Super Chat segment and the upcoming lightning round. Lionel is the official diecast provider of NASCAR. You can order your new 2022 diecasts of your favorite driver at lionelracing.com, as well as local authorized Lionel retailers. And you can also see them at Walmart. And guys, what are these diecasts?
Darian, you were telling us about yours before we went live.
Yeah. So this is a very interesting one to me. I found it in my little. I've had this since elementary school, basically. My little diecast collection, my little 164 collection, I guess. So this car, it says it has John Andretti's name, but fun fact, this car was actually qualified by Shane Neal in 2003 in the summer Daytona race that he failed to qualify in. So I don't know. I just thought it was a random fact. I don't know if John Andretti ever ran the scheme, and as well as Christian Fittipaldi. I think Shane Neal might have been the only one to have ran the scheme, but it didn't even make the race. So if somebody wants to correct me on that, go for it. But yeah, I thought this was a pretty good looking scheme.
As you can tell, I've got a theme going tonight, and so I figured I'd bring this big chunky boy out. 1/18 scale. Matt Kids, a 2003
That's a fat car.
It is. Look at that
That's
thing.
a fatty
boy,
right
man.
You've
That's
been
a big
Taurus.
one.
Yeah, we're going out. No, there's no explanation, further explanation. This is it. Also, you guys noticed I changed hats during the interview.
Yeah,
It didn't fit my head very well.
Saw that.
There's so much DeWalt on the screen.
I got a big noggin.
Well, I figured with it being throwback week, let's go full throwback. I got the North Wilkesboro hat. I got the Darlington shirt. For those who are watching and can see, and a Curtis Turner car. I love this car so much. I believe if I'm not mistaken, and I'm sorry if I forget about this in full detail, my dad got this for me, as well as fun fact here. Darian has a fun fact, so I'll have one. Curtis Turner was the first NASCAR driver to ever grace the cover of Sports Illustrated in 1968. I actually have
good
that,
trivia.
but unfortunately, because of me moving soon, it's packed up, so I can't bring it on the show at the moment. But yes, Curtis Turner, first. I mean, he was like the first bad boy in NASCAR who would just go out partying all night, get completely wasted, and probably more than likely driving a couple races drunk. He was also kicked out of NASCAR for trying to start a drivers union back in I want to say the mid 60s, might have been the 50s.
The drivers wanting rights. That's a no.
Well, it obviously didn't work. But yeah, so there's Curtis Turner. He also, another one, as you can tell, I love Curtis Turner. This dude is awesome.
You did a video on him, didn't you?
Yes, and so did Slap Shoes, which is it's a really good video. He also helped, I believe he claims at least, he was the one who had the initial designs for the first satellite system the Kennedy administration put up into space. So, dude, he designed Charlotte Motor Speedway. Curtis Turner is awesome. I highly implore everyone to read up on him. He is one of the coolest stories nobody seems to remember.
Very interesting, for sure. A very interesting career.
But yes, we do thank Lionel for bringing us this show to you guys every week. And I think it's time. I hear something in the distance.
What is it? Do y'all hear something?
I don't know. What
y'all hear that? Y'all hear that? Humba. It's the lightning round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Jared, what do we have on tap for tonight?
Lightning round for Hamana. So very short lightning round this week. There will be no NASCAR console game released in 2022.
Yay! That's great.
The aim is for 2023 in the middle of the year at the moment. Some big news from fellow podcasters. The Scene Vault on Monday unveiled their podcast where they brought on special guest L.W. Wright after 40 years of been missing in action. For those of you who don't know, L.W. Wright is the guy who basically was the DB Cooper of NASCAR, as Darren.
He snuck his way into a NASCAR field for a race.
Crazy they found him. They found him so long, all these years later. Awesome.
Again, after this, go listen to that pretty badass stuff there. The NASCAR Euro Series has signed a partnership with VP Fuels to develop and use sustainable fuels and be fossil fuel free by 2025. Something to keep in mind for the future of NASCAR is, that that might be a way to actually keep the V8 engines and not have to go hybrid. Just telling people. I mean, doesn't F1 have their own sustainable fuel too? So,
I believe so.
yeah, so it's an option. And then the last one's not exactly NASCAR news, but Ken Schrader will race at I-55 Raceway in the SRX race on July 16th. So keep an eye on that this summer.
Makes sense.
And that's it.
That'll do it for the lightning round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. And now, back to the show. I'm never doing that again.
I don't even know how to follow that up, but we have to thank our other sponsor, Forney Industries, of course. Forney offers a full line of welding and plasma cutting machines, metalworking accessories, and more. Great for do-it-yourselfers or if you're a professional metal worker. Forney has everything you need for your next project, so be sure to check them out. You can shop their products online at forneyind.com. That's forneyind.com. I see it down in the description right now. Jarrett put it there. Very, very studious of him. Or you can find them at an authorized Forney dealer near you. We always appreciate Forney's support as well. Great sponsors, great viewers. Really, this show is just going great. Everything's going so well. We're surrounded by the very best every single week. We really appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
And with that, we're going to head into the reason that Eric looks like he's Matt Kenseth from pre-2009.
This thing's got a 20 on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
When Eric
I saw
turn
Joe
his
Gibbs
head.
Racing put out a congratulations tweet, and I just kind of like, I don't know, it just felt odd to me for them to put out a, I don't know, like
we fired you. Like,
I mean, he had 5 great years there, but like, I don't know, it kind of just felt weird. Anyway, yeah. Go ahead, Jared. What are we talking about next?
The 2023 NASCAR Hall of Fame class. I'll start off with the first thing that was announced today before we get to the class itself. Landmark Award, or Landmark Achievement Award, I should say, going to Mike Helton, who has been in the sport, I want to say, well over 50 years at this point.
He's been in it for a while.
For life.
That man always deserves to get recognition for how good he's been to the sport. But let's get it right into it. First modern era ballot goes to Matt Kenseth. Second goes to Kirk Shelmerdine. And the Pioneer ballot goes to Herschel McGriff. So, Eric, I know you're chomping at the bit to get to at least one of them. It's obviously Herschel McGriff.
Oh God, Herschel McGriff.
That guy started a lot of races. He first started racing in 1945, and his last racing start was in 2018. So he raced for a while.
I didn't even realize. I forgot all about that until read that. Yeah, no, that's crazy.
I guess some really quick stats on Herschel McGriff, really quick, that I was able to find. He was 1998 named to 50 greatest drivers list. Won NASCAR's Award of Excellence in 1991. And like I just said, I mean, first start in 45, last start in 2018, but also his cup stats are interesting. He ran
some Red Farmer type numbers.
Yeah,
right there.
he ran 85 races over a 27-year span with the best points finish of 6 in 1954. His first race was the 1950 Southern 500, and his last cup race was in 1993 at Sears Point, which it was called at the time. Wow. First and last win came in 1954. So all 4 of his wins came in 1954, I guess. So
breakout season.
Yeah, and never won again after that.
Pretty cool. Yeah,
that was standard back then, though.
Yeah, that's great.
All right,
next Kirk Shelmerdine. We can talk about Kirk Shelmerdine a little bit. So he was my pick, one of my picks to make into the Hall of Fame this year because he won 4 championships with Dale Earnhardt as a crew chief, and I feel like that has to be worth something. I think even Steve O'Donnell joked about during the ceremony, like we put a lot of focus on the drivers for sure, but crew chiefs do deserve some love, especially when you've won that many championships. And yeah, you can say he was teamed up with Dale Earnhardt, one of the best to ever do it, but great drivers still need great cars underneath them. And so I think Kirk Shelmerdine was very, very deserving. I know we got some stats here. He did win 44 cup races as well as a crew chief. And what's worth noting is that all of his crew chief accomplishments came at a very young age, before he was even 34 years old. So that's a pretty big deal to have that. It's like almost like he was like Cole Pearn before Cole Pearn almost in that respect.
See, I've been on the Kirk Shelmerdine. This is the Kirk I like. I've been on the Kirk Shelmerdine train of him getting into the Hall. I want to say since 2019. Like every year it comes up, he's like, I'm like, Kirk, get Kirk on there.
Yeah.
What was really cool that they mentioned is that he worked with James Hilton back in the 70s, which, for those of you who don't know, James Hilton was one of like the older drivers in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. He was like, how do I put it? Put it like this. Think of the role that somebody like, a I don't know, a Dale Jr., a Casey Kane, like one of the best drivers we've ever seen. He raced against the best drivers at the time. And for Kirk Shelmerdine to have his start there, go over to RCR basically after Richard Childress retired, have that organization ready to win once Dale Earnhardt got there. He is, what was it? How many? He won, I believe, 4 championships in 5 years.
Yeah, and 4 of 7,
Or
4 of Dale.
4 and 6, I think.
Yeah, and also, I mean, Dale Earnhardt, 4 of his 7 titles were with Kirk Shelmerdine. So, I mean, it's easy to say, like, oh, he had Dale Sr., blah, blah, blah. Didn't really have to do much. But, I mean, like, especially back in those days, he was very important to Dale Sr., getting all those titles in the late 80s, because I feel like a lot of people have, like, this, like, weird way of looking at Dale Earnhardt's career. They just thought, like, oh, and every single year he was every single season he raced, he was a championship contender. No, that wasn't the case, especially early in his career after winning his first championship. So Kirk Shelmerdine was the one who kind of got that RCR program going and stuff, and they were able to win those titles. And then once he left, I mean, they had that one, and then he left after that. But I think if he would have stayed, perhaps Dale Sr. would have won more championships than just the 7.
Well, I guess we've held off on you long enough, Eric.
Yeah.
Keep joking. Keep teasing
Fanboy, man.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, go ahead.
We had this last year.
It's pretty cool to see Matt Kenseth. I knew from the moment I started watching racing after he'd already won his championship. Like I tweeted this earlier today, but I started watching racing a little bit on TV, but I really got into NASCAR by playing NASCAR Thunder 2004. And I initially would always play as Matt Kenseth because it was this paint scheme, actually, the one I just held up. And I just thought it was great. I loved the yellow and black. It stood out to me. So I always drove as this car. And then later on, started following him more closely and just came to like him as a driver. Very down to earth, focused on racing, didn't dwell on drama. He was just out there to do his job to the best of his abilities, and he happened to be really, really good at it. And I always admire the consistency. In all sports, nothing frustrated me more than a streaky athlete, a streaky player. I liked someone who you could count on, who you could depend on, who you knew was going to make your team better, who you knew was going to help you win on any given day. And for the vast majority of his career, that was Matt Kenseth. So, what else can you say? But his stats obviously speak for themselves. 39 Cup Series wins, 21st all time. He's tied for 21st all time. I think he was 19th or 20th when he actually, kind of retired from Joe Gibbs Racing for the first time, but still 21st all time. He won a bunch of Xfinity races. He's a 2-time Daytona 500 winner. He obviously won a Cup Series championship. Also beat Dale Earnhardt Jr. In 2000 to win Rookie of the Year. He won a Southern 500. He won the Coke 600 as a rookie. He finished second at Indianapolis. In 2020, he finished second. He finished top 5 several other times as well. I don't know if he had any other seconds, but he was so close to sweeping all the crown jewels in his career. I'd say that it's nice to see Kenseth finally getting some recognition, but I feel like we've said that a lot about him the last couple of years. I think people are beginning to really appreciate Matt Kenseth, and some of those younger fans are starting to know Kenseth for his on-track success as opposed to just that Joey Logano incident in 2015, which on that point, I am glad that did not keep him out of the Hall of Fame on his first try. Like, if you look at the stats, you stacked him up against all the other modern era nominees this year. I think it was pretty clear. Anyone with 2 eyes could say Kenseth was a top 2. He was worthy of one of the top 2 picks. But I'm glad that the voters did not hold that one fluky deal that was in many ways encouraged by the CEO of NASCAR at the time against him. So I'm happy that he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I always knew he'd go into the Hall of Fame, but it's really cool to be able to say he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was a first ballot Hall of Famer just recently. I think it's safe to say Jimmy Johnson will be a first ballot Hall of Famer next year. And those were always the guys Kenseth was racing against week in, week out, and was contending for championships alongside. So as a longtime fan, someone who's been a fan of Matt Kenseth since 04, 05, who never got to see him win a race in person outside of a super late model race in Wisconsin a couple of years ago, I'm stoked. I'm thrilled. This is really, really cool. So appreciate y'all giving me a second to rant and rave about it. But
well, yeah, you're wearing the getup. So I was like,
and you had to put up with me, Darian, and Danny all geek fanboying over Junior making it last year.
Junior made it. He made it.
Junebug.
He made it, bro. But
I did not script that Denny delivers, but I'm glad it came across so well.
but overall, like, we knew Junior was going to be a first ballot, but then I'm like comparing certain drivers' careers to his, and I'm like, yeah, Kenseth did have the better overall career when you look at it stats wise and stuff. So yeah, Kenseth deserves to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And isn't Jimmy Johnson? He's eligible next year, right?
And it'll probably go
So,
with Chad
yeah,
Knaus, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I'll probably go in with Chad Canal. So that means, like, of all of the honorable mentions, Ricky Rudd has to wait, I guess, another 2 years probably now at this point. I mean, he deserves to be in, but, like, it's just bad timing because when, like, you know, it's like when he happens to be up, you know, for the whole nomination gig, there happens to be like a new guy who's up for it too. So like Kenseth was this year, and then next year it'll be Johnson and Canal. I'm
like looking through the win list right now. Ricky Rudd has 23 career wins. I was just thinking, like, could recency bias be a factor to keep him out longer? You have guys like Carl Edwards who are still there.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I mean, at that point, he'll be retired long enough after 2-3 years. You have somebody like a Casey Kane, a Ryan Newman, and the Newman one, you could make a case for all those polls. You know, that's
So it's not really clear when Rudd will get in, but he certainly is a Hall of Fame candidate. But yeah, to your point, Eric, like Kenseth deserved to be a first ballot. I was even up front about that this morning. There was a funny little Twitter exchange with you and somebody about it this morning. I just thought it was funny.
I did want to point out Bob Hocker's tweet earlier today that Matt Kenseth received 69% of the modern era ballot votes, and Shelmerdine received 52%. Third was Harry Hyde, fourth was Neil Bonnet, and fifth was Harry Gant. So Burton, Rudd, Edwards, not even cracking the top 5 this year.
Right. Harry Gant.
Makes me think they may have to wait even longer than we thought. Like, it's tough. I think Kenseth and Shelmerdine, in my opinion, were far and away the 2 best candidates this year. But after that, it is a dead heat between all the remaining modern era candidates. I think many of them deserve to get in, but I also think it's fair to make them have to wait a few years, even though it sucks. I know it sucks, but it's the Hall of Fame. It's a big honor, you know.
Hearing that, I think the way Carl Edwards left is going to affect his. I mean, it affects his legacy with the fans, but I didn't realize how much, because a lot of that is media. I know.
Sure, yeah, no, I bet it is. Yeah, so, or it is for sure. I bet they hold a grudge.
So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that soured people's perception of him. I mean, the man basically like disappeared off the face of the earth, and then
never heard from
sailed
him
around it. He was like the modern day, you know. It was.
Yeah, that's right. Didn't he sail across the Atlantic a couple of times?
Yeah, twice.
Yeah, wow. What is Carl?
Hey, he's living a very interesting life.
Yep. Honestly, though, that's still not nearly as shocking to me as hearing that you've watched every single Cup Series race since 2005.
Even I haven't done that. Yeah, that's great.
No. Whoa.
If you think about it, I've watched almost the entirety of Kyle Busch's career.
Oh,
that just sounds sad when you put it like that.
I've watched every. I remember when Denny Hamlin got called up to the 11 car.
Me too.
But no, I would say this year's been pretty good. I think I put Sam Ard over Herschel McGriff, but for me that's always a toss up, just because you can, you know. Everyone was saying AJ Foyt, and I get the name itself, but like AJ Foyt
in NASCAR,
he won Daytona, but outside of that, I understand
that's about
it.
Yeah,
but
that's about it. Like I don't know.
He probably brought the outside influence of other series in.
He did.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I could definitely say that. I think it's another reason why, you know, like we were talking about a little earlier, of not putting too much on the numbers, especially with the Pioneer vote. But
yeah,
that's
probably fair.
So now January 20th next year is when the induction is. Whether you want to get tickets, I think those are going up in June. Or if you want to watch it on TV, or if it's on TV, it might be just on NASCAR.com like last year.
Eric's got to be there next year to cover it. He's got to cover it.
I'll plan to be there.
Yeah.
If they'll have me at the Hall. Yeah. I have a good relationship with those folks. We should be able to get over there.
Yeah,
they're good people.
Yeah, Hall of Fame's great.
Well, we are throwing it back with the Hall of Fame induction, which I love the fact that they have the voting and stuff the same week as Throwback Week, and that leads us right into it. Really quick, you know, let's just get each of our favorite throwbacks. Start with you, Darian, then go to Eric, then to me. What's your favorite throwback that's been announced?
I mean, Trackhouse is top of the list by far. Got, you know, Dale Jr. and Dale Sr.'s, you know, Japan schemes and stuff. And obviously, you know, some certain news came out today that some wicked rich decided to mess with the font and stuff. But hey, you know, it's all good. It's all good. It still looks great. It's just a minor touch up, I guess, but it's still overall a great throwback scheme. I love it. And then Kyle Larson's scheme. Who was that throwback to again? Richmond, right?
Tim Richmond.
So yeah, that was second on my list.
Darian, shut up! You're taking my top two.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
yeah, I said one for a reason.
You get one.
Sorry, it's my top two.
I would have put Chastain and Suarez kind of interchangeably at the top of my list. I'd probably put the Tim Richmond throwback just because of how accurate it is. Like it's almost the exact same sponsor. It's the car. Like everything looks so
But the
good.
number's not right.
It's close enough. The execution is still so good on that car. So I'll go with my third pick. And actually, it's a good thing I was starting to pull this thing over here. It's actually an Xfinity car, but Ty Gibbs with the throwback to Bobby Labonte.
I remember it.
Y'all are with it. Yeah, a fan gave this to me in
Shout
Indianapolis
out to
last
him.
year.
But you couldn't take it. So I had to bring it. And then I think, was it a week or 2 weeks later, I drove down to Daytona and I gave it to you?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yep.
Yeah. But I have it now. It usually sits out in my living room. And anyway, but the Ty Gibbs recreation looked really, really good. Like I just love the green red. Again, it's a longtime JGR sponsor, and I think it's cool that Joe Gibbs' grandson is getting to like kind of continue that tradition.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go with one that has a little connection with me family wise because I got into the sport because of my grandpa, and my grandpa's been watching since like I want to say the early to mid 70s, basically as long as it's been on. My grandpa's watched NASCAR, and the guy that got him into it. He has missed races since I started watching.
Big fan.
He's not going like 2,000-3,000 in a row. But the guy who got him into it was Marty Robbins, and I believe it was Corey LaJoie is running the Marty Robbins scheme. I love that car. I love that it looks for the most part pretty accurate, much more accurate than the Tyler Reddick one last year. And so I got to say that one. I mean, my favorite, of course, I think we all agree, the Trackhouse #1 car. Other than the Wicked Witch, but but I love the Marty Robbins car, and that story needs to get out there more. I think I've said it a couple times before on here. Like I want that story to be one that is more well known amongst fans. So I hope that helps it this week. So, but that leads us right into the races this weekend. We got 3 of them because the Truck Series is back.
It's back.
Yeah.
Yes, but will we have like another shit show in the Truck Series this year at Darlington though?
Can't be worse than last year. Anyway, speaking of those races, let's get right into it. So we got the truck race Friday night called the Dead On Tools 200. It's 147 laps. Starts at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's on FS1 and MRN, as are all the races this weekend. The forecast is looking better than it was earlier this week, but it's looking to be 91 degrees in Darlington on Friday. Afternoon thunderstorms, 58% chance. But I will say this morning they had the chance at 97% for thunderstorms, so it's getting better. Your defending winner of this race, Sheldon Creed. For the Xfinity race, you have the Mahindra Roxor 200. This is also 147 laps. Starts at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Again on FS1 and MRN on Saturday. And this one will look a little bit better with weather. 82 degrees, clouds and sun interchangeable throughout the day. 25% chance of rain. Your defending winner on this one, Justin Allgaier. Then you have the Cup race, the Goodyear 400, 293 laps, starting at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Mother's Day, FS1 and MRN again. This Sunday, it's going to be a little cooler, 72 degrees, but they say pleasant with some sun, 5% chance of rain, which just went up from the 0% chance. Oh, no. Defending winner of this one will be Martin Truex Jr. In the booth will be Richard Petty in Stage 1, Bobby Labonte in Stage 2, and Bill Elliott Stage 3. Darian, that race,
Yes.
What are we looking at for who to bet on?
Yes, the betting odds on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. The 5 favorites this weekend for Throwback Weekend. Kyle Larson enters this weekend as the favorite at plus 500, followed by Martin Truex Jr. plus 700. Denny Hamlin, despite the struggling season he's had, he's still looked at very favorably in the betting odds at plus 800. Chase Elliott plus 900, and finally William Byron rounds out the favorites at plus 1,200. Now, as for the best of the rest, Ross Chastain plus 1,300, Kevin Harvick plus 1,500, and Tyler Reddick plus 2,000. And for my favorite category, the underdogs, Kurt Busch plus 3,000, Eric Jones plus 4,000, as well as Chase Briscoe, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. plus 7,500. And since we always like at least one person per week puts him in the who's gonna suck category for our race picks, Cole Custer enters this weekend at plus 20,000 to win the race. Oh, where'd Eric go? Oh God, did he disappear?
I tried to describe some, but what do we got for the fantasy league?
Yes, the fantasy league though right now it is really tight. I haven't seen the fantasy league points this close. Right now, amongst the top three, Toyota Tough, Trevor Sports 98, and UGR2 are all separated by 3 points. 2,134 for the leader, and second place is tied at 2,131. So it is really close. And rounding out the top five is 24 for Life. In fourth and in fifth is Dawsonville Siren 9, who are not too far behind neither. But man, it's really competitive in the fantasy league this year. So thanks for playing, y'all.
And as for the pick points, Eric is leading still with 187 points. But chat, you're catching up. Only -2 right now, heading into Darlington. Darian's only -17. Those three are all within one race, ready to strike. I'm fourth, -53, and Danny is last, -60.
Hey, to kind of go over the points briefly, hey, I needed that win. I needed that win to stay in contention. Jarrett and Danny still have some catching up to do, but chat, every point counts because remember the picks last week we had David Land on, and for the IndyCar race, you and me, chat, got an extra bonus point, and you're only -2 points behind Eric. So again, you have to remember every single point matters. So it's getting crazy. It's getting tight. But Eric, what are you doing, man? You're losing your lead.
I'm not sure how I'll recover from this one.
You look exhausted. I don't know what to
I had
do.
such a nice, comfortable lead a week ago, and Chase freaking Elliott had to go spoil the party.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
I'm not doing good, but we're gonna bounce back. Darlington, love this track. I think we got a clean sweep coming. I'm feeling really good.
Ooh.
Smell that? That smells like something's cooking. I think we got some big points coming our way.
Well, remember this, chat, when we go over it next week, whatever happens. Pick order this week. Eric's going to lead us off. Darian second. I'll go third. And then, chat, we'll get what you think after the three of us pick. Eric, lead us off. Who's going to win the truck
Chandler
race?
Smith.
Chandler Smith? Okay.
Not messing around. Or no, who the hell's in this Xfinity race? I don't even know.
All right, Darian.
I was gonna pick John Hunter Nemechek for my pick.
Oh.
I am going to go with the guy who's been running very consistent here the last couple of years. I'm going to go Ben Rhodes in the 99 truck. And Danny has John Hunter Nemechek as well. I'm looking in the chat right now, and I'm a lot of John Hunter Nemechek.
Yeah, Creed's not in the truck series anymore, guys. I see one Creed there.
I see some Rhodes, but a majority of it is going Nemechek.
Yeah, I see a bunch of Nemecheks. Let's see. Okay, let me keep going.
Yeah, looks like Nemechek.
Yeah, it's
going
Nemechek.
once. Yep, Nemechek, yo. Nah, that's y'all's pick.
All right, Eric, who's going to win the Xfinity race?
Noah Gregson.
I was like waiting for you to cut me off again.
You're so fast.
I forgot who my pick was for a second. I know the chat is going to pick Chase Elliott, so it's going to be a good battle at the end.
Yeah, look, man, he's in this race. He's driving the 88 car, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, Chase Elliott, yo. I gotta go with him. Yeah, I was really tempted though to pick Sheldon Creed because he's really freaking good here in trucks. So I figured hey, he might be a surprise, but hey, I gotta go with the proven winner. So Chase.
Yeah,
Elliott.
I'm gonna go with the proven one as well. Chase Elliott in the Xfinity Series at Darlington is damn near unstoppable for the most part. So I'll go with the safe pick on this one as well. And so is Danny and. Yeah, I mean.
The chat.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Pretty obvious.
A lot of 88.
I see a Timmy Hill. Give him that one.
I see a lot of 88s though, man.
I think it's all versus Eric. So it's either Eric's gonna have a really nice Xfinity race or he's gonna lose big.
Hey, it's all good.
That's a fifth car. Some pieces gonna break. They're gonna break something.
We're coming for Eric.
Man, they were able to run top 10 with a Dale Jr. that hadn't raced in a year.
Yeah, I think that team's pretty solid, man. It'll be all right.
Who's going to suck in the cup race, Eric?
I don't know.
Sound like Kimi Räikkönen there for a second. But wait, are you picking Bubba on this?
Yeah, I'll go Bubba.
Okay, all right. This guy had a surprise run, but I remember when the first race during COVID 2020, he crashed on the first lap. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is gonna suck here. I don't know. His track record here is not the best.
Eric and I have a pretty similar pick. I'm gonna go Bubba. This is one of his worst tracks, and that's probably not gonna change this year.
And let's see. Who's going to suck, chat?
Yeah, who's the chat? I think they're still thinking that they're picking Xfinity.
Guys, no, you take the 88, y'all. That's it.
Now they're all saying Cole Custer again. Why are they always going to go Custer?
Dude, they're going to pick
immediately. They go
the low-hanging fruit. Yeah, they're going in.
I saw that. Oh man, but they were still. I saw even somebody put Kyle Sieg as a winner option for. Oh man, but
yeah, they're going Cole Custer. All
right.
right.
I see a lot of my name in the chat. I think you should give him me and see how that works out for him. Oh, I guess this is the suck pick. Well,
yeah, these don't get points.
This should give him points for it. Negative points.
Maybe we'll amend that next year. But Eric,
maybe.
While we're thinking of that though, let's just go on to the dark horse pick.
Eric Jones. I'm sorry, this feels really mean. I'm not lashing out at you, Jared. I'm lashing out at the chat.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I have the power of the host to mute you whenever I want.
I dare you. Yeah, no, Eric Jones. He won here, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Eric Jones, too. I'm sorry. I'm not jacking your picks, Eric, I promise. But yeah, Eric Jones, he's +3. He's +3 above the cut line, which is way further along than I thought they would be. And that's on top of, earlier races in the season where he just wasn't finishing that, and I said earlier in the year that was his one problem. So he's starting to finish races now. I say he at least gets a top 10. Oh yeah, and he's won here before. Duh, that's right. I just remember that.
Well, I'm gonna go with someone I mentioned earlier in the show. I was given this as just a little teaser to it. This guy is been running in the top 10 just about every time he's been here in a Roush car. And so I'm going to go with Chris Buescher. I think he's going to be someone who's quietly up towards the front.
Yes.
Looking at the chat right now, man, you could honestly have Denny Hamlin as your pick if you want.
Could.
You could. There's more 43s than anyone. They're going.
Okay. Yeah. See that.
Oh. So, I want some creativity, chat.
Well,
but anyway,
I'm just copying. All right.
Darian.
So now, next. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win at Darlington, Eric?
Oh, you don't cut him off.
Yeah, well, no.
I thought you were gonna say
he
something.
He knows better.
I was waiting for Jarrett to say something. No. So let's see. I had who happened? The trucks. Chandler Smith, Noah Gregson, Martin Truex Jr. He will win the Cup race.
Okay, that's a proven one. Hey, look, I said it. I said it earlier in the show. Hendrick, they're currently in a class of their own right now. It's gonna be sooner rather than later that you see one of these guys have multiple wins, and I think it'll come this weekend. So Kyle Larson will join William Byron as the only Hendrick drivers to have multiple wins this season, as I think he'll win at Darlington this Sunday.
I'm gonna go with a guy who was charging up last year, ran out of time in the Southern 500, was the fastest guy on track, and in my opinion, he's in a better car this year. And this is the first time I think this year I've actually picked him to win, so I need to cash in while he's on the hot hand. I'm going to go Ross Chastain for my win pick. And Danny has Tyler Reddick as his win pick, which is another pretty good fast pick in Darlington.
So we all had different picks.
The chat may even have a different pick as well. I feel like they're looking either Elliott or maybe Larson.
I saw one Kyle Busch, but I don't think he's the majority. Well,
there's a good amount of Chastains too.
We might this is one we might have to do a poll for with either 3 or 4 drivers.
Yeah, what drivers would you say are leading? I think Chastain and Elliott.
Chastain and Elliott. I see a few Kyle Larsons.
There's less Larsons now.
Okay.
So. I'll put 3 up there. I'll put Elliott.
Okay.
I'll put Larson or Chastain. I want to do it in number order. Chastain, Larson, Elliott.
I also see Kyle Busch there. I feel like he should be a 4th option because I've seen a few. I've seen enough of those. Yeah, I've seen enough.
Jared, how many points do I get when I sweep the weekend?
A lot.
15 plus 9 is 24, and then plus another 7 is 31.
Damn.
I don't know off the top of my 41, I think.
Wow, I gotta sweep the weekend, bro. I gotta sweep it.
I'll just say right now that when it comes to the top 3 series, I'm the only one who's ever swept the weekend, and I did it twice.
Yeah,
it's happening this week. I'm feeling it.
That's why
Martin Truex.
That's why Jarrett had such a big points lead last year that we just couldn't I couldn't catch up towards the end
because I swept the weekend 3 times, 2 of those being Truck Xfinity Cup.
Yeah. So after that, I was like, we're having a tough time here.
All right, so everybody vote on that poll, and while that poll is up right now, let's go into the final Super Chats. Once the Super Chats are over, I'm ending it. Whoever is out front of those 4 is your pick. I'm not going to do multiple polls with this one. So, let's get right back where we left off. Melon Smasher 1 with the $4.99 says, Happy May the 4th to Jar Jar, and also PSA, Ratatouille's overrated. Philip Richards says, and thank you so much for being a member for a full year on the channel. No UFO, spin it if it's there. Thought it was on. Yeah, it's on screen.
Yeah, it's there.
We've just gotten so used to it. It just blends in now.
Yeah.
God, the poll is so tight between all
It
4.
It is, man. They're all in the 20s.
And while you're voting, I'll also be sure to lick that like button, baby. Double Stuff Gaming for the $3 Canadian says it was because of the cake spin the UFO. Nice. Stephen D for the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. First off, thank you all for doing what you do. Always look forward to the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Second, glad Chase got an oval win. Great way to start my Monday. Well,
it's about time.
Thank you, Stephen. Oh, it's been a while, man. Hot piss. Thank you for being a member for 7 months. Can NASCAR revoke the 51's charter? It's every week. Xavier Castro for $4.99. Do you think we will ever have an F1 NASCAR doubleheader? Logistically, it's a nightmare, but maybe one day Dakota, maybe Vegas.
I don't know. Look, F1 is so big, bro.
It.
Like, I would love to see it, but I mean, F1, they're just so big and they're just so
exclusive.
Yeah,
Like, I've been seeing like media having a hard time even getting to this Miami race this weekend. Like they're making it difficult to just cover the race if that's your job.
And apparently, like the parking situation there too is not the best. So I don't know. Logistically,
it would take the right track. I think Coda would be the only one that makes sense, but
or Indy,
or Indy.
Yeah. I'd say either do I'd want to do Coda, that way you can have like that crossover during the playoffs. Maybe you can sway a couple fans over. But anyway, Antar Das, thank you for the $4.99. Hamlin's bad luck is driving me insane. I honestly want to punch my TV. I haven't been this pissed and annoyed since Homestead 2019 or the end of 2010. I don't blame you, man. I'm a junior fan, been there. Alex Viveros for $5, thank you. BFM, can you please go get your Jinx powers under control? He is more dangerous than Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet.
Guys, this is all a coincidence. I'm not doing anything, bro.
He says
I didn't do nothing.
Mike Take Flight says for $1.99, rank the 400 drivers so far this season. I feel like I did that earlier.
I think you did.
I think I did.
Yeah,
some of us did.
Fat Dad, thank you for the $4.99, says prime example of how much better this car is than Gen 6. Larson blew 2 tires, tore up his front up and was still able to be a top 10 car. Good point. We did. I don't think we mentioned that too awful much.
Yeah, I still feel like Larson might be 1 or 2 going back to ranking Hendrick guys. I know he's only got 1 win and it was kind of wild, but I feel like Larson, I'd have a hard time betting against him. He's just so consistent.
So good.
PTM Billy, thank you for the $1.99, says I'm only watching Texas for All-Star qualifying. That is going to be really interesting. Kyle 3000, thank you for the $4.99, says I don't know if it's been said, but in F1 they have a green light that comes on when the impact gun has sufficiently torqued the lug nut. Try it in NASCAR. I'm willing.
Yeah. If you're gonna try something like that. Yeah.
If you're gonna stick with single lug, you might as well try the stuff that the best of the best do it with. Andrew Meyer, thank you for the $2. Says Matt Kenseth finally got his moment in the sun.
Yeah.
So poetic.
Yeah, finally.
I saw a tweet. He was apparently doing yard work, and his wife was watching the ceremony on her phone.
That's a very Matt Kenseth
and he came inside, and she was like, "Oh, hey, you're in."
He's probably like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna go take a nap." Jake Stew, thank you for the $4.99, says the force was strong with the voting panel today. Congratulations, Eric, on your boy making the Hall of Fame. May the fourth.
I'm like a proud parent.
May the fourth be with y'all. NASCAR weekly podcast game.
Weeby podcast.
Oh man, Darian gets the jinxing powers I had for a week in 2019, and I get his funny words.
Yeah.
Nova Stone 12, thank you for the $2. Chase has a 50-point lead. Favorite for regular season championship? I mean, at the moment, yeah.
I honestly, I'll be
sure.
honest, I don't really care about the regular season championship.
I mean, you get 15
but yeah,
points for the playoffs, so
And you get
a
a trophy.
Yeah, you get a trophy.
I don't care about the
NASCAR
participation trophy.
It's something I
NASCAR-
don't remember though. That's the
NASCAR's trying to make it a bigger deal, as they should.
Hey, Turnpike, how's it going, man? What for
Hey, how's it
$199? Y'all wait, Michael McDowell wins 10 straight. I like the rhyme.
Okay. Hey, that's nice. Yeah.
Jake Card _Cy for $199. Guy Tibbs. Hey,
Nice.
Tinsley, how's it going, Tyler Tinsley? Thank you for the
Hey,
$10, man. I went to Dover this race. I can't speak. I went to Dover. I went to the Dover race last weekend, and I'm getting tired of rain affecting the spring race. I couldn't go Monday, but still had a good time meeting friends from Enter Night in America. Spin the
that's
UFO.
cool.
Love Enter Night in America.
I love it, dude.
Levi Jones, thank you for the $4.99. Hello there. The
Hello
weekly
there.
podcast on my birthday week, May 2nd. Here's a $5. May the 4th be with you. Well, thank you.
Happy belated birthday.
Yeah, enjoy your birthday week.
You knew I'd catch that. Hello there. Isaac for the $1.99. Welcome to the rebellion against Jar Jar Binks.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
JS Ski for $5. Thank you. Says that was an awesome diecast area and one of my faves. I couldn't show it, but I grabbed my 2008 Reed Sorensen Polaroid diecast. Such a good base game. I agree.
That's cool.
Groovy Gosling for the $1.99. Next year Hall of Fame, Darian Jinks, Dale Call, and Spin the UFO. Gotcha. I gotta put that in there. That's good.
That's cool.
If I ever made the for whatever reason, when I'm one of the 5 NASCAR YouTubers in 27 years to make the Hall of Fame, I hope that my display has the UFO.
Yes,
and I'm totally being serious about that, by the way.
Yes, we're totally being serious.
Kyle 3000, thank you for the $1.99. Kenseth won my first race in person, 02 Michigan. I've been in a couple of Kenseth wins. I think
Can't relate.
2013 was one of them. Might have
He'll
been
win
one.
at the fairgrounds this summer, and I'll be there calling it.
Southern Cowboy, thank you for the $10 super chat. Says, I've been watching all you guys along with Michael for the better part of 3 years, and y'all inspired me to create my own channel. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. That's nice.
Thank you. Ryan Bauscher, I think is how you say your name, for 5 says, hey, Eric, what's your favorite rivalry with Matt Kenseth? Mine is between him and Jeff Gordon.
That one kind of started and died at Bristol. I felt like I know it carried over. There was instant Chicago, and that felt like an accident. I don't know. That one I didn't really bother me. The Logano one was frustrating. The Keselowski one was hilarious in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
The one that got me the most riled up, basically throughout all the years, was just Tony Stewart. I just didn't like Tony Stewart, period. And anytime he ran into it with Kenseth, it just
He was gonna give it to him every chance he got.
My favorite friendly rivalry was Kenseth versus Casey Kane, especially in like the 2010s.
Yeah, that's funny.
A Ski 20, thank you for the $10. Says met Matt Kenseth at Madison Sunday. Had him sign the 02 DeWalt Flames car from the 600, which was the race he officially became my guy. Matt lacked the speed to win, but still an amazing experience.
Yeah, because Mark Martin dominated that race. Yeah.
GN, thank you for the $5. Says Newman should not be in the Hall of Fame class, but a display of his pole awards, the Rocket Man, in front of a 12 car in the Hall of Fame would be fine. I think he's gonna make it. I don't think
once he makes it in, then yeah, they should have like his 2003 car on display. That was his best season.
Jam_plays_games for $1.99 says, will LaJoy be driving with a big iron on his hip? I don't think so.
Big iron on his hip.
Oh man, that's good. Gavin Adcock for 5 says, what is your favorite throwback of all time? I really love Jimmy Johnson's 2020 throwback. Probably Dale Jr.'s number 3 car in 2010. I wore a shirt every race for 7 years with that on it, from 2011 to 2017 until we retired. So I kind of by default have to say that. That and the one at my first race I ever went to at Michigan in 06 for his grandfather Ralph. Ansar Dossing for the $1.99. Kenseth, the last legitimate champion. All right, fine. Isaac also says, for 199, Ratatouille is not overrated. Give it some respect. I didn't say it was a bad movie. Never said it was bad.
Yeah.
GN for 2 says, I'm not a Kenseth fan, but I respect his humbleness. Respectable.
Yeah.
Melon
Cool.
Smasher 1 for 199 says, can we get a NASCAR Weekly Podcast Discord server, please, boys? We tried that in the past, but maybe it's time to try again.
See, I currently, Movement helps me run a Discord server, so if we ever want to do that, I can try and get something.
I don't know anything
we'll
about
talk
Discord.
about I
so.
just need somebody. We'd probably need someone to help us run it.
We'll see. We'll see.
Nova Stone 12, thank you for the $2. Says, what do you think will have who do you think will have the most wins this year? Let's go
I think
nuts with
Chastain.
it. Let's go nuts with it because I don't think anyone's probably going to jump over 5 or 6. Let's say what William Byron just goes straight into the Alex Bowman role.
I think Larson.
I think Chastain.
I think it'll still be Larson.
I think that's a good. I think those are the good ones. I want to be different. Brock Culpepper, love that last name as a Vikings fan.
Culpepper
for $4.99 says, what is wrong with Penske this year? Glad to see Blaney carrying the team.
They dropped a championship veteron driver.
Yeah, that's what happens. Yeah, I mean, I think some people.
Oh, and didn't they have a crew chief retire? Didn't Todd Gordon retire?
Yes. He left, I believe. Yes,
that's another big one.
Yeah. So they've lost some key personnel, so that's why. I mean, it's no.
Or maybe he stepped in like a competition role, but still,
he's not a crew chief. He's not a crew chief anymore. Yeah.
It's kind of similar to what happened with Hendrick a little bit after Knaus stepped down. They had like a little fall off for a minute.
They'll be back.
Went pretty well afterwards. And then final super chat at the moment from Nova Stone 12 for $2 says, should we remove stage yellows due to normal cautions or more cautions? I think he meant normal. I'm cool with that if this is something sustainable. If this happens next year, I think NASCAR should do that as it'll keep the race pace going, and I think it would make strategy better.
I agree.
Well, let's end the poll right now. And
wow,
Chastain came back because Larson was ahead by
last time I looked, it was Larson leading the whole way, and then Chastain.
Yeah.
So we all have different picks. We all have different picks now, right?
No, he picked the same as me. They picked the same as me.
Okay.
So we're ride or die on Sunday, y'all, in the chat. And then thank you, Groovy Gosling, for the $4.99. As a Jeff Gordon fan, I thank Kenseth for blowing a tire and accidentally wrecking Logano to help Gordon win Martinsville. Congrats.
Yeah.
Spin the UFO.
Spin the UFO.
Nice. So thank you all so much for that and for all the support. Guys, I think that covers pretty much all of it. I would want to say, though, join us next week on Wednesday night, May 11th, at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Darian's channel, Black Flags Matter. We're going to be going everything. We're going to be going over everything at Darlington, Throwbacks, all that good stuff. And we're going to be joined by a special guest, fellow YouTuber Michael Roots is going to be on.
You guys love our little banter. You know, we sometimes put a cap on it during the show and stuff. It's not as bad as it used to be, but you'll see a little bit of that, you know, a little bit of trolling every now and then. But he's always a spectacular guest to have fun, and I cannot wait.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
If you're going to be in Darlington this week, and I just want to plug this real quick, Sunday at 1:30, I'll be doing a meetup. I'll be hanging out at the Roxor booth just outside the main grandstands, part of the big Midway fan zone. I think we're going to have like an out of the groove sort of tent set up there, so you should be able to find it. The big Roxor booth should be easy to find regardless. So if you're at the track on Sunday, stop by at 1:30. Hopefully, I don't know this for sure, but hopefully we'll have some groovy merch to give away to most of the people that show up. If 10 people show up, we'll have something for everyone. But if 100 people show up, we might have to start rationing. We'll see what we have. I don't even know what exactly we're going to have there just yet, or trying to figure it all out. But excited for that. I haven't done like an organized meetup like that really since arguably the one we did at Bristol like 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh yeah,
and that was loosely organized. This one's a little more organized. So
this will be different.
Hope to see a bunch of you guys out at Darlington on Sunday.
Well, are we good? Anything you want to add last second?
Nope. Good luck this weekend with the points pick chat, and let's see if we can overtake Eric this weekend.
Well,
ooh.
Eric, with that note, see us out.
I really want to like edit this in so it turns into like the sexy saxophone like Kenny G thing instead.
Oh. Yeah.
I think that would be really cool. But anyway, I just wanted to let's just say that. Anyway,
You got most of it.
Better. That's better.
All right.
goodbye.
Green.
Holy moly. Great job! Yeah! This guy. Thank you! Wow! Hell yeah. Woo-hoo! Great job, man!
Now we got a crash. Car spinning left and right.
Buddy, let her rip. Rain like hell, baby! Come on! Oh my god, guys! Yes! Yes! Unbelievable! You guys are the best!